Welcome to the Town of Derry Planning Board meeting for May 7th, 2025. We start our meetings with Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please rise and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, I'm going to do some housekeeping. The Planning Board continues to voluntarily offer remote participation via Zoom. If you want to attend the meeting remotely, browse to www.zoom.us. The meeting ID is 754-663-912. You may also dial in by phone for audio only, 646-558-8656, same meeting ID, 754-663-912. If you have any technical problems, please call 603-845-5585. If you're on the phone, hit *9 to raise your hand to be recognized, and then once recognized, hit *6 to unmute yourself. If there is an emergency and the alarm activates, the elevator will not be usable, so if you need assistance, please wait for first responders. The exits are at the rear of the room where you likely came in, also to my right, to your left at the front of the room. Once the alarm sounds, that door will unlock. Would now like to introduce the members and staff present tonight. So way over to my far right is Mr. Mousy, alternate. Mr. Wood, a new alternate, so please welcome our new alternate. Thank you for signing up. Ms. Robideau, Planning Director. Ms. Carvalho, the Recording Secretary. Mr. Chase, who is the Town Council Liaison.
Good evening.
Member Mr. Healy.
Good evening.
Member Mr. Fishman.
Good evening.
Vice Chairman Mr. O'Connor.
Good evening.
Way over to my left is Mr. Provencher, who's the Media Access Coordinator. And then our new Deputy Director of Public Works, Mr. LaRue.
Good evening.
And new member,
Derek Minervini.
Derek Minervini. I'll get your order soon, maybe by the end of the meeting. And then Mr. Pelletier, new full member. Mr. Chiricello, who's the Town Administrative Representative.
Good evening.
Mr. Malby, who is the Secretary, and I am Dave Nelson, I'm the Chair. First item on our agenda tonight is matters of escrow. Do we have any escrow? The folder is empty, so we'll skip that. Approval of minutes. We have before us two sets of minutes, the public and non-public minutes of April 2nd. Has everyone had a chance to review those? Are there any errors or omissions?
You want to combine both of them together? Or?
Sure, unless there's any changes.
Seeing nobody raise their hand regarding either one of the minutes, then I move to accept the regular minutes of the meeting and the non-public meeting minutes of April 2nd also.
Second.
All right, moved by O'Connor, seconded by Malby. I will poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Abstain as I was not there.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Minervini?
Abstain.
Mr. Pelletier? Mr. Chiricello?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. I know we have correspondence this evening. Do you have the folder?
Yes, we have, it's actually two letters, carbon copies from Kelly Karen, the Assistant Town Manager and Director of Economic Development for the Town of Londonderry. Letters are addressed to the Executive Director of the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission and to our own Planning Director, just letting us know about their review of the Gateway Commerce Park site plan and their belief that because of its location, it is going to cause a regional impact. And then there's a link. It hasn't been submitted to the board for formal review, but there's a link that we can go and get more information on the plan if we'd like.
Okay, thank you. On correspondence, we did inquire of Londonderry their uses and plans for the adjacent land to our Gateway District. Did we ever hear back from them? Okay, so those specific plans are what's going to happen in that district. Okay, great, thank you. And then, because I forgot to offer the round of applause, I would like to have applause for our two new full-time members. Thank you for stepping forward. We always appreciate that very much. We're going to have fun. Other business, we have the second reading of our policies and procedures, and basically we're just adding one line in order to comply with state law. That's in red, I don't know, on page whatever, but you can review that for us, Ms. Robideau. I'm not sure your mic is on.
No, I'm like, I couldn't hear myself. So the one change is located on page 9 of the policy and procedures, and it inserts the requirement that if the proposed development is a solid waste landfill, then the project would qualify for a development of regional impact. So if there are no changes to the document before you, we can put this on the agenda on our May 21st meeting for acceptance.
I make a motion that we do so.
Motion by Churchill to put it on the agenda,
Second.
second by Malaby. I'm going to call the ayes. All those favors say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, please add it to the next available agenda. Thank you.
Will do.
Next item of other business is architectural design review. New signs for parcel ID 05053-0012, excuse me, Island Pond Road, Rockingham Cycle in the West Running Brook District.
Okay. For the newer members of the board, the Town of Derry zoning ordinance requires that all new signs in the West Running Brook District be reviewed by the planning board prior to the issuance of a sign permit. The criteria in the district applicable to this application is as follows, and you have a list of 15 criteria. They range from location adjacent to the right-of-way, setbacks, marquees. I would note that in this district, banner signs are prohibited, as well as neon argon or krypton, which neither of those apply here. There is a banner sign proposed. Rockingham Cycle has submitted the sign permit to the building department. You do have facsimiles of the two proposed signs in your packet. And the recommendation would be that the board review the signage and comment on its suitability for the district. Mr. LaRosa is here if you have any questions.
So, Ms. Robert, I do have one sort of technical question. There are two photographs attached. Are those the signs that are actually proposed to be installed?
Yes. Yes.
So neither of them appear to be new. One of them appears to, maybe be metallic based with, screen printing on it. The other one appears to be like a banner.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, the second one that's a banner, is that considered a temporary sign under the Derry sign ordinance?
That would not be. I believe the intention is to have that attached to the building in some way.
Correct,
Oh, Mr. LaRosa, would you mind coming to the podium and talking? Thank you.
The 3x6 banner, I'd like to put that up on the building itself. And the other one, I'd like to put out by the road, the wooden sign.
Okay. Again, I haven't actually read the sign ordinance recently, but I was just curious as to whether a banner actually qualifies. Does anyone,
Well, banner signs are prohibited.
They're
Huh?
prohibited.
They're prohibited,
what?
banner signs.
Right on page number 9, bullet point 9.
Excuse me?
front of the page.
When I say
Yeah.
banner, it's not gonna be waving in the air. It's made out of material.
Yeah,
It's not made out of wood. It's made out of material, and it would just be attached to the building itself. When I say banner, it's not gonna be waving like a
I think
flag.
that, unless someone can correct me, I think that describes its construction, its material, as opposed to where it's placed. So I guess I'm going to suggest that, based on that, my understanding is that the banner we can't approve because it is a temporary sign. You can certainly amend the application to request it to be a temporary sign, but then that has a time limit on it.
Could I attach the banner to a piece of wood, and
Now you're beyond my pay grade, because I'm not a code enforcement officer. Does anyone from engineering have any idea about this?
It would still be a banner, however you fasten it to an object.
Yeah. Mr. Churchill?
Yeah. Is that working? Yeah. Yeah, banner signs also have these grommets on the top where you can put, usually you string rope through. That's a classic banner sign.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, none of us here are the code enforcement department, so we're going on based on what we know, but it appears that regardless of how you mount it, if it's a plastic or cloth material with grommets, it's a banner, and it could be a temporary sign. But I don't think we can approve it as a permanent sign. As to the appearance of it and the lettering and the logo, I think that's fine, but I don't think we can approve that actual piece of fabric for use as a permanent sign. If you want to check with the code enforcement officer and we're incorrect on this, then we can fix that, but that's my understanding tonight.
okay?
Should we table it to the next meeting?
We can certainly approve the
First one.
first one. And if you want to come back with amend the application to say it's a temporary sign, and if the code enforcement folks deal with that, that's fine. But in terms of a permanent sign, I think it has to be more like the first one. Mr.
Chair,
Healy?
Yeah. Could we grant a waiver? Could we grant waivers on other applications? Is there a way to grant a waiver if it's attached to the building? I mean,
I guess, is the sign ordinance in the zoning ordinance?
It is, but it's relative to the West Running Brook District.
In which
So
case,
in-
everything is waiverable. So
That is-
probably we can,
That is
Mr. Healy.
correct.
because just my opinion on it is if it's being attached to the building and it's going to be there permanently, I consider it more of a permanent sign on that building. Like the applicant said, it's not going to be flapping around. If we're able to grant a waiver, I'd be in favor of doing that too. I don't see any issue with these two signs if we're able to do it.
You are.
Okay, anyone else have comments on that? Mr. Churchill?
Yeah, the only issue that I have with these type of banner signs are they typically rip very easily in the wind, and, that's the issue that I have. The first one I like a lot. You said that's metal, that's wood,
The square one is wood, yes.
not metal?
No,
Okay.
no.
I love the first one, and it's more permanent, a permanent sign, it's not gonna rip or fall down. The banner signs after time, they don't look good, in my opinion.
If I may, that same banner sign was on my old location for well over 10 years, and I never had an issue with it. It was pretty well secured to the building, and that one was also on my building.
Yeah, I'll point out that while we do have the ability to waive almost everything in the West Running Brook District, we do typically set higher standards for appearance and signage and whatnot, because it is a village concept district. So the fact that it was okay in your previous location in another district doesn't necessarily automatically mean it's grandfathered for this district, but. So
When you finish.
let me address Mr. Healy's motion. If you want to make that as a motion, and we get a second, then we can debate that and dispense with it.
I'd make a motion to grant a waiver for the banner sign to be attached permanently to the building.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Minervini. Discussion on the amendment.
Mr. Chair, if that does pass, then before they leave tonight, we have to have a written request for the waiver.
Yeah, get a piece of paper and just write a request to get a waiver to be allowed to put a banner sign permanently mounted on the building, because we do require waivers to be in writing. Any other discussion?
Yeah. I think if you're gonna open up this door, you're gonna have to open it up for everybody else. I think that district was really had some high standards, and I believe that if you pass that waiver, you're gonna have to do it for everybody else. Just my comment.
Other discussion, Mr. Healy?
Yeah, when this applicant first came to us, I was not in favor of the business in that location because of the district, and we allowed it to go in. Where this building is set back off the road, again, I don't really see an issue where it's set so far back. The sign was affixed to their previous location, and it's gonna be affixed to this location. I think if we're able to do the waiver, I think we should just grant the waiver.
So you're suggesting that because of the siting of the business, this has some unique features that would not necessarily set a precedent for other businesses in different locations in the district?
I think where it is, it's so far back, and I think, as a board, we have the ability to grant waivers or to not grant waivers. And, I think it's for the applicant to go and make a new sign, and when they've been using this sign for years, they're gonna attach it to the building. I don't see it tearing. I don't think we're going to get complaints on the sign. I just think it's a lot for the applicant to just go make a new sign just when they can attach this one.
Can I ask another question, sir?
Mr. O'Connor?
Are you going to do any lighting on either one of the signs?
They're both non-lit signs.
Okay, thank you.
And he was correct, the building does set down in a hollow quite a ways back off the road, and I'm doing it for visibility, so people can find me.
Okay, any other questions or discussions? Yes.
There's a microphone right behind you.
Oh, yeah, right behind you, just grab it.
Sorry about that. The wooden sign that you have, that's gonna be out towards where B&H Gas is gonna be, how is that gonna be? No, not that one, I get the cloth.
The wooden
Cloth
one.
one's gonna be attached to the old flea market, yes, the wooden one. It's gonna be out towards B&H Gas, I'm assuming, right? Towards
by
that-
the road,
by the
yes.
road. How will that be fastened, I guess, for lack of better
There'll be
terms?
two, I'm thinking 4x4 poles.
Yep.
Set into the ground, and it'll be freestanding on that.
Okay, thank you. And there'll be no, as Mr. O'Connor said, there'll be no light
No,
so that people
non-lit.
can see it at 8 o'clock at night. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion? If not, I will poll the board. Mr. Chase?
No, I do not believe that it meets the intent of the ordinance for that
Mr.
district.
Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes, I think the siting of the site makes it a unique circumstance, so yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
I'm going to say no due to the fact that the West Runningbrook district is a higher level of standards.
Okay. Mr. Minervini?
Yes, because it's over 400 feet from the road.
Mr. Pelletier? Your mic's not on, I don't think.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
As stated by Mr. Chase and Mr. O'Connor, no, due to the requirements of the district.
So is that a yes or no?
No.
No. Okay, Mr. Chiricello?
No. You need a reason?
You can say same as Mr. Chase, that's what we
Same as,
usually do.
same as Mr. Chase.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes, due to the properties of the location, I'm going to say yes, I'm in favor of the sign.
All right, so that means so far it's a tie.
Oh, but you didn't vote yet.
I didn't vote yet. I'm going to vote yes for the reasons that Mr. Healy gave. It is far from the street. It is, I think, in a unique site for this district. And if it were somewhere else, I probably wouldn't be as favorable, but in this case, I vote yes.
Could we have a motion on, for the other sign?
All right, so now we need to actually deal with the matter that was
Yeah.
in front of us. That was just the waiver.
Yeah,
Now we need to have discussion and motion on the actual approval.
and there is a suggested motion, and if the board uses that wording, just please remove the wording for the condition. Thank you.
So back of the front page. Who would like to make the suggested motion?
Mr. Chair, Move pursuant to the Town of Derry zoning ordinance, Article 12, signs, Section 165-101.12, signs in the West Running Brook, to approve the sign design presented for Rockingham Cycle, parcel 05053-001 to Island Pond Road, with the condition that the...
No condition.
That's it. Yeah, remove the condition.
I so move.
And then the board finds the sign is compatible.
The board finds the sign compatible with the surrounding buildings, meets the regulations contained in the ordinance, and complements the surrounding architecture.
Second.
Moved by O'Connor, seconded by Malaby to approve as the motion is modified based on the waiver. We'll poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Minervini?
Yes.
Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Chercello?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you, good luck.
Thank
And if you ever win the lottery, get a better sign, please.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is architectural design review for a facade improvement for parcel ID 300979 Crystal Avenue, Rockingham Community Action.
Okay, thank you. So the land development control regulations, under section 17083B, require that alterations to building exteriors be reviewed by the planning board.
We need a written waiver before you
No,
leave.
Oh, I have it.
Oh, you got it?
Yep,
All
right
right,
here.
thank you.
Okay. Before anyone can get a permit for exterior alterations, the board needs to review. Rockingham Community Action in, is it Mickey or Mikey's Pizza? They are currently located at 9 Crystal Ave in the Central Business District. Alterations in this district require a high level of compliance with the architectural design criteria. And the purpose of the review is to ensure that any changes maintain a pleasing pedestrian environment according to the regulation. Design elements to be considered in this district include but are not limited to the following list. I won't read the entire list, and there's even more requirements, but those are in the LDCR. So Rockingham Community Action has submitted an internal fit-up application to the building department along with the proposed facade improvements. The interior improvements will not change parking demand for the site. You have a facsimile of the proposed facade, and after I wrote my staff report, a sign application came in, so you all have copies of that. I added that tonight. So the recommendation is that the board review the proposed facade change and comment on its suitability for the district, and you have a suggested motion, and I believe we have representative from Rockingham Community Action in the event there's questions.
So I have, again, a technical question. This is a two-tenant
It is.
facility, right?
Yes.
Is it a single ownership? Is it rented? What is the?
I'm-
Please come forward, give your name and address for the record so we
Yeah.
can get you on. No, you got to do the microphone because people at home are going to hang on your every word.
I'm Christine Walker with North Point Construction Management, and New Hampshire Services is on one side of the building, and then the pizza leases the other side. So they are two different tenants.
But it's one building owner.
Yes,
And who is the owner?
I would have to verify that.
That's Rockingham Community Action.
Okay.
Yes.
So I guess the only thing I would ask is, given that it has a certain unity of appearance, even though there are two different tenants, why is the facade only being applied to one tenant's section of the building?
New Hampshire Services wanted to create a new entrance for their clientele and to bring a little bit of presence. Currently, the building has a sloped facade, the roof structure, and it doesn't lend to one tenant or the other. It makes it very difficult to find the location for the entrance for New Hampshire Services, and so the intent was to create a parapet keeping with the existing height and wrap the materials that are on the side of the building around to the front to give it unity and give it presence, and then the pizza joint is then its own identity.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
I had a quick
Mr. Healy.
question. So in, I believe it was July of 2021, the town council at the time approved a facade improvement program. Is that being utilized? Has that been communicated to the applicant?
Because they're a nonprofit, they're unable to take advantage of that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Chase?
Yeah, you said you received an application for sign, and, yeah, we got this, nothing formal.
Oh, well, the application for the sign would go to it goes to the building department. So the planning board would, this is the facsimile of the sign that they want to change. And I did not print out the sign permit application.
Okay, so they have that.
They do have
And they're
that.
just asking us to review
Yes,
for architectural, okay.
yes.
So this is a separate motion for the sign? Or is it included in this?
I would include it because it's all part of one upgrade.
I'm going to make a personal comment or suggestion, which I normally don't do, because this has to do with the artistic design of the sign, which I think is very nicely designed. But one of Nelson's laws of marketing is the sign has to be readable at 40 miles an hour. And I think that it's got low enough contrast that it may be hard to actually pick out the blue lettering from the black background. So this is just purely a suggestion. I think it's fine in terms of compliance, but something you just might want to consider in terms of visibility for motorists.
I can relay that back to them. The sign is a deferred submittal. It was not by North Point.
Any other comments or questions?
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman. So the old sign, well, I mean, much better improvement of the sign, actually, than what's out there currently, but the old one was 8 by 12, and this was going to be 10 by 4, correct?
Again, the signage was not by North Point. It's a deferred submittal.
That's what's been presented on the sign permit application, Mr.
Oh, but
Churchill.
so it's an increase in size of the sign.
It still meets the regulations in the district
Okay.
with regard to size.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And again, I like it much better than the one that's currently out there. So.
Any other comments or questions? If not, would someone like to read the suggested motion?
Mr. Chair, move pursuant to the Town of Derry Land Development Control Regulations, Article 14, Section 170-83.p, to approve the facade design presented for Rockingham Community Action, parcel number 30097 at 9 Crystal Avenue. The board finds that the proposed facade change is compatible with the surrounding buildings, meets the regulations contained in the ordinance, and complements the surrounding architect.
Second. Moved by O'Connor, seconded by Malaby. And we'll poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Minervini?
Yes.
Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Churchill?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you
Thank
very much.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Okay, next on the agenda is an update from the Gateway Committee.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chair, fellow board members, members of the public. My name is Brian Fishman. I'm here as a member of both the Planning Board as well as the Gateway District Subcommittee. And we're going to give you a quick progress update on our actions to date. As you know, the subcommittee was tasked under the master plan and by the Planning Board to explore future land use guidelines and regulatory options for the Gateway District, particularly in light of the opportunities presented to us by the forthcoming Exit 4A project. Last week, we completed our fourth and culminating public workshop. It was a visioning session that knitted together all the insights from the 3 earlier, more area-specific workshops. We had about 30 members of the public in person, in addition to the facilitation staff, and a number of community members online as well. Over the course of the 4 sessions, we interacted with about 130 community members across all the events. In particular, district residents living south of Folsom were particularly active. and their input was heard and is featured here in our findings. I'm going to speak to some of the key themes that we found, but this is all going to come out in a full report that the subcommittee is putting together for submission on June 4th to the planning board. So some of the key themes that were heard throughout the 4 sessions, there was a strong interest in preserving the neighborhood character south of Folsom. A lot of resident sentiment to keep the existing single-family scale, architectural rhythm, and low traffic feel, potentially aided by plantings, buffers, and traffic calming, which was a very repeatedly cited item. Along those lines, pedestrian-first streets and safety enhancements. We had a lot of interest in lighting, improved lighting, visibility, visible crosswalks, broad sidewalks, bike lanes, rear lot parking, really a clear call for walkability. In addition, a lot of interest in landscape and beautification through landscape buffers. Visual preference surveys showed a lot of interest in softening the commercial edges. There was interest in mixed-use, small-scale, and community-serving businesses with particular interest in ground-floor retail with housing above, as well as privately owned public gathering spaces. There was a lot of disinterest in large auto-oriented or other heavy uses, a lot of opposition to big box stores, strip malls, gas stations, used auto sales, and also an interest in minimizing the amount of curb cuts north of Folsom. In terms of some of the industrial and commercial uses, there was a lot of interest in life science, R&D, and light industrial campuses north of Folsom and along Madden Road, as well as workforce development or educational uses. Again, there was a lot of concern about traffic, people cutting through the residential area given the increased traffic counts, with some suggestions to consider one-way streets or other traffic easing measures. There was interest in hotels, however, there was also some feedback about wanting to steer that into more of a boutique style or something that fits in with the architectural style south of Folsom. The hotel would be north of Folsom. And then there was a lot of feedback about the approaches we may take, finding flexibility through overlays and form-based approaches. So there's a lot more there, and this is just the highlights, but we'll be presenting these key themes to the board on June 4th and all the findings from the public activity. The roadmap ahead of us, after that formal written report is presented on June 4th, the planning board's encouraged to go into workshops and host potentially other working sessions in order to ultimately draft text amendments and then propose hold our public hearings. The goal, as stated originally, was to forward our initial amendments to the town council in August. So we have a short timeline to do so, but we're going to get started as soon as possible. One of the pieces that we wanted to recommend to the board up front is, given how much community engagement and interest there is, we believe it would be beneficial for the board to find a way to structure its workshops in a way to really facilitate continued ongoing community engagement and take that feedback. Kind of adding to that, we're going to encourage that members at liaisons or representatives from a number of other town departments be involved at this point to really help move it through the town council when it gets to that point. Specifically highway safety, Gateway TIF Advisory Board, the ZBA, and town council liaisons. We just feel that will help get the language in the right place so it can move through expediently. That's about it. Thank you very much for everyone who's been a huge part of this and all the public feedback we've gotten. It's instrumental to helping shape what the next 20 years look like in this district. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Great. All right. Next, planning director and chairman updates.
Okay. A couple of things. We had received a request for some rezoning at Dickey Street. We did reach out to all of the landowners in that area with very lukewarm response. Most of the response was neutral or please don't change anything. We had, one please change, one don't change anything. Everybody else was neutral. So at this time, looking for some direction from the board, do we want to move forward with a workshop on potential changes there, or do you want to, how would you like to proceed there?
I can certainly poll the board for their opinion, but if we've got one yes, one no, and everyone else, yeah, not really, maybe, it doesn't sound like a strong motivation to change things. And so I would be happy to just say, well, it's just one request and not supported by the neighborhood. But I'd like to ask other members to chime in with their opinions on that. Mr. O'Connor?
Yes, when I traveled over in that area, there were 3 of the lots that were already in some type of business, such as auto repairs, parking lot for the restaurant across the street, and then even a sliver of piece of property that's right bordering Londonderry and Derry. And then the rest of it on the main road, I think is adequate, what the changes are for that one. So I would not be in favor of moving forward.
Anyone else have thoughts, yes or no?
I agree with your comments, Mr. Chair.
All right, if there is no objection, then we will simply let the matter lie there.
Okay, thank you for that
Thank you.
direction. With regard to the regional impact review for Londonderry, there are plan sets included in that link. We can print those out and get those to the board. And I was hoping that we could put a regional impact review on the agenda under other business for the 21st.
Yeah, let me ask how this works technically. The statute says for purposes of having a butter status for testimony, if it's a regional impact, the planning board as a unit gets to be in a butter and have comments.
Yes.
How does that practically work, and have we ever done it?
I don't believe we've done it in Derry. I think we did for the casino. My past experience with regional impact has been that once a town declares regional impact, the abutting communities that are affected, as well as the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, have 30 days to kind of review and get any comments back, and so that those changes can be discussed and incorporated. And we're also, with a butter status, encouraged to attend any of the public hearings and provide comment. It would be helpful to be able to provide a cohesive response back to the planning director in Londonderry so that they can provide feedback to their planning board.
Yeah, okay. So if I read correctly in the letters, they haven't received a formal application, so the clock hasn't started yet.
Right.
They've declared regional impact. So their design, under their process, their design review committee can declare regional impact.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
fine.
my understanding.
But the actual,
Yeah.
90-day or 60-day clock or whatever it is currently under the statute hasn't started because they haven't
Yeah.
accepted jurisdiction.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how much time we got.
Yep. So, the planning board determined that it may have regional impact. The planning board itself.
Oh, so they have started the clock.
They, yes, so their application was submitted for design review, and at that meeting, they declared regional impact.
Okay, so maybe the letter's a little out of date. Okay, so what is our time schedule to effectively get together, review it, and then I think we ought to have one person, maybe you, whoever can make it, be the designee, as opposed to have half the board there try to go and.
Yep, we can do that, or we can send, my experience in another community was that the other communities just sent a letter to be included in the planning board materials stating, the abutting planning board's concerns and comments.
Certainly do that.
So if you wish me to attend the Londonderry meeting, I'm happy to do so.
And what is, you said on the 21st?
Yeah, I would like to, on the 21st, just have a discussion, if we could, under other business before we have one public hearing. That public hearing will likely be involved, but we should set a little bit of time aside for this.
Okay. As long as everyone can review it online before, I think that would be fine.
Yep,
Okay.
we'll make sure we download the PDFs and get those to you.
Anyone else have questions? Because one of the things I learned at a recent course I attended is I'm going to get out my pencils and I'm going to color the plan.
Okay. Okay. So I have just a couple of other things. So speaking of training, just a reminder that New Hampshire Municipal Association will be providing training to the Derry Zoning Board and Planning Board on May 22nd. That will be at 6:30 p.m. So sorry, guys, you've got like 2 more meetings this month. And I just want to confirm that following our report out to the board from the Gateway Committee, that we will schedule our first workshop for June 4th.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we probably ought to try to make August, so yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Um,
And that's all I have.
One other thing, again, continuing on planning, this Saturday is the spring planning workshop, BEA. And I believe I've signed up. Has anyone else on the board? This one's remote, so you don't actually have to leave it comfy of your home. Who else is? Anyone else signed up for that? No?
Don't. I thought we had heard from Brittany on that one, but I can't confirm that for sure.
Okay, probably a little too late to sign up now, but that would be a good thing for our new members, because they usually go through some basics. And maybe it's available online after the fact, even if you don't sign up. We'll find out.
It should be, and that's a good reminder in your policy and procedure. You're required to attend at least one training a year and to report that back to planning staff so we can keep track. So the one on the 22nd will count for everyone who's here, but any additional training is always helpful.
Yeah, the big fall and spring state-sponsored conferences are always a good thing, and they're on Saturday, so you don't have to cut into work. And that's all I have, because we have a full body, and I don't have to beg for new volunteers, so sweet. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing for Dreamcatcher Homes LLC, Edward C. Cooper Revocable Trust of 1993, parcel ID 06086, 6 Eastview Drive.
Okay, bear with me on this, please. So Dreamcatcher Homes LLC is under contract to purchase 5 and 12 Jewel Lane with plans to construct single-family homes on the lots. The Planning Board on January 5th of '22 approved a 5-lot subdivision of 6 Eastview Drive, creating those 2 lots, among others. The recorded plat shows a proposed 25-foot wide pedestrian easement on 12 Jewel, which benefits parcel, or map 6, lot 102, which is a town-owned parcel known as the Town Forest. Dreamcatcher Homes is requesting the planning board amend the approved subdivision by removing the proposed easement. So facts that the board should be aware of. Because the easement is on a recorded plat, it can only be removed by an amended subdivision. The town of Derry did not accept the easement through action of the Conservation Commission or Town Council when the original subdivision was approved. The easement is not noted as a designated easement on the deed for 12 Jewel Lane. That deed that we have on record is actually still the one for the entire lot prior to subdivision. The applicant states that the access from 12 Jewel is very steep and it would make navigation to the town forest difficult. There's also no designated parking on Jewel Lane for access to the conservation land, and the planning board did not discuss the easement during its deliberations of the original subdivision. And the applicant does not believe the easement was discussed at any public meeting. We do have some evidence that is to the contrary, and that's in your packet. Currently, access to the town forest is along a discontinued portion of Olson Road at the corner where Ballard Road begins. It's a very sharp corner. Any improvement to that access would likely require input and approval from town council, as the council has authority over the discontinued road. Improving access and providing parking locations would likely require easements be obtained from the abutting properties. A variance was approved by the ZBA on October 1st of 2020 to create 5 and 12 Jewel with less than the required frontage. During that discussion, the land surveyor representing the Cooper family stated the easement across 12 Jewel was intended to allow the Conservation Commission to have access to the town forest. The variance application was approved as presented. And then in September of 21, Conservation Commission reviewed the 6-lot subdivision proposal. The surveyor noted the easement and again indicated it would be intended to access the town forest, and the Conservation Commission chair at the time asked the commission to review the plan without considering the statement about the easement. They held a site walk in September of 21. They reconvened to discuss the proposal later in that month. And during that discussion, they discussed wetlands and drainage, not the easement. And on November 8th of 21, they met again, discussed the plan, and they voted to have him sign it. On April 7th of this year, the commission reviewed the request to remove the easement language from the plat, which is the application before you. The Conservation Commission held a site walk on April 14th in the area of Olson Road, and the commission met again on the 22nd, where they voted unanimously to extinguish the pedestrian easement. I do not have easement minutes for either of those two, the site walk or the meeting on the 22nd, but I did have correspondence from the Conservation Commission chairman stating that they had voted that way. So the Conservation Commission is empowered by statute to accept gifts of land by fee simple, easement, or otherwise, subject to approval of town council. No formal action by the Conservation Commission or town council was ever taken on the proposed easement noted on the plan. The statutory process was never completed to accept the easement. And last evening, town council confirmed that the easement was not conveyed to the town. So the recommendation is where town council took action last evening to confirm the easement doesn't technically exist as there was no conveyance. The planning board should review the location of the easement and determine if there's any value in providing access to the town forest via 12 Jewel in the future, with the understanding the commission had decided it didn't see value in it at this time. You have Ralph Valentine is here representing Dreamcatcher Homes, and happy to answer any questions.
So why don't you come up, Mr. Valentine? My first question is, what exactly are we looking at? This is a fairly inclusive subdivision, although it has a very recent date on it. Am I to understand that the only thing different between this drawing and the recorded plan D 43-736 is the removal of the easement? In other words, the subdivision of 5 and 12 based on the variance is already shown. Everything else on this parcel, nothing has changed.
Nothing changes. The only request is to remove that easement, proposed easement.
Yeah, I just want to make sure nothing has changed. Because
Nothing.
even if there's a Scribner's error and someone, oh, let's fix something we forgot to do.
No, none of
We're
that.
effectively approving it by approving this plan, which we don't have all the facts on the
Correct.
history. So I just want someone to swear that's the only change from the previous one.
I think that would be Mr. Peliquin that's swearing that.
Yeah,
By
he's not
preparing
here.
the plan. He's not here.
Okay, any other questions? Mr.
Yeah,
Jones?
I have a question. So I'm looking at this page here.
Mr. Chair, before we should start discussion, we need to accept jurisdiction.
Oh, is it,
This is a public hearing.
Oh, no, that's,
all right, so it's effectively not a lot line adjustment?
oh,
It's an amendment to a subdivision?
It's an amended
Yes.
subdivision.
Okay, so let's go by the script and,
hey, Mr. Chairman, move to accept jurisdiction of the amended subdivision plan proposed to extinguish a pedestrian easement shown on 12 Jewel Lane before the Board for Dreamcatcher Homes, owner Edward Cooper, PID 06086, 6 East View Drive.
Second.
Moved by O'Connor, seconded by Malaby. I'll poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Minervini?
Yes.
Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Churchill?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Do we even have to ask about regional impact? No. All right, can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Churchill, open, seconded by Malaby to open the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Public hearing is open. You have any opening comments, Mr. Valentine?
I do not. I would say the staff report and the explanation that was provided would stand for the planning board to take a look at and deliberate, and I'm here to answer any specific questions.
Okay. Mr. Gerald, you got a question?
Thank you. So I'm looking at the first page here, where you've got the cul-de-sac on Jewett. But then if I flip through, there's a second map right here. And it's highlighted, and it's actually covering two different lots,
Oh, yeah.
06086 and 06102.
So that map shows the area at the end of Jewel that's being asked to be extinguished. And then on the other side, it was really just to orient and to show where the other point of access has been utilized, which is the one I mentioned in the staff report, Olson at the corner of Ballard, where it connects.
And it also shows that
So
it has-
is the
it's a
easement covering
discontinued
two
road.
lots or one
No,
lot?
it's one, it's
No, okay.
one.
That's just showing a discontinued road.
Yeah.
No,
it
no,
was
no, I'm
just
not
to-
talking about up here.
There are
Yes.
two easements, and
talking
we're
over
only
here.
dealing with one of them.
No, no. Yeah, I'm not even sure of the status, like easement-wise or otherwise. That was mainly to show point of access. That's all that's illustrating.
So you got a discontinued road.
Discontinued road.
That, okay, so that was
So it's
discontinued.
a paper street.
Paper Street.
That was a paper street getting onto lot 06102. And I don't know what that lot is. Is that conservation land?
06102 is the town forest.
Okay. And so I'm imagining, I would guess that that pedestrian easement is basically to allow people to get into that town forest.
Mr. Chair?
Well, if this gets discontinued, the first one,
We're only, can I just clarify? This is for illustration purposes only.
okay?
This area over on Ballard is not on this plan nor really open for discussion. It was just to, other than if people need to comment on it.
Okay.
But this is to show, this
Well,
is the access that's being taken away, and this is the access that was mentioned by the Conservation Commission during their site walk.
I mean, I think it's relevant to establish that there is public access. And so I don't know whether is it discontinued or is it discontinued subject to gates and bars?
It just said it was a discontinued road from
Somebody
19
needs
to.
to
Yeah.
read Bernie Wall's book because those
Yeah.
are very
There's a-
different.
there-
If it's discontinued,
exactly.
it's now private land.
Exactly.
If it's discontinued subject to gates and bars, it's a Class 6 public highway.
It doesn't say, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
and let me, if you don't mind, that's exactly where I was going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have two access points to get to that piece. Discontinued paper street goes back to the previous owners. There's no access
1922.
there. So by getting rid of this easement, you're basically landlocking 06102 is what you're doing.
Mr. Churchill, Mr. Chair. If you visit that cul-de-sac right there, you'll see that it's almost impossible to fall off that cliff. It goes like 40 feet straight down.
Yeah,
So that's why,
I have to admit, I haven't seen the topography end. I'm purely looking at it as an access point to get to that town forest.
usually through Ballard Road is where it is, parking and so forth.
Where would that be?
that cul-de-sac is
Oh,
somebody's
down here,
property.
down here. Okay, I see it now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
on,
If you
that's
go
on
to the
someone's
GIS
property.
map, then you'll be able to see a good
So
dirt road.
who owns 06103A? Which is the access point to get into that lot. I'm just concerned, Mr. Chairman, my concern is I don't want to landlock this thing.
That is owned by the Cooper family, and that is not access.
Not
There's no
access.
access through there.
All right, so,
So I think we just need to be clear that the discontinued road, however it was legally discontinued, is still a public access to public property. Do you know where in the minutes or the source documentation you read that it was discontinued?
I want to say it was in discontinued road 1922. That probably would have been, I would have noted it on a deed. There are members of the public here who live in that area.
Does anyone from the public have information on this and would like to come forward and enlighten us? You got to wait to get to the microphone because you have a TV audience tonight.
My name is Lucy Peoples, 42 Ballard Road. I know that on our deed, that road is listed as discontinued. Our property is listed as going halfway across to the center point of that discontinued road.
All right, so if it was discontinued, probably by town meeting in 1922, then the town parcel owns half of that original, which would be like a footpath as opposed to anything nearly approaching a roadway.
how do you figure that? If it gets discontinued, it goes to the previous owners on both sides.
Depends on who owned it when. It could be either way.
Yeah.
I share Mr. Chiricello's legal concern, because if it was discontinued, that means it no longer is a town right-of-way. It is no longer a viatic easement. It is private property of whoever owned the property when it was originally laid out, so it may not be usable at all. If it was discontinued, subject to gates and bars, it's still a public way. It's a Class 6 road. But from what I hear from one of the abutters, she's told that it was discontinued, and she owns half of that. So I share Mr. Chiricello's concern that regardless of what the Conservation Commission says, that may not be a lawful access to the property.
So what I can say is that on Plan D12624 from 2019, there was a note that Olson Road was discontinued 1922. It did not say gates and bars.
Yeah, so if it's discontinued, then it is
All
of the public access rights are extinguished.
Right, and I also need to point out that the town council did take action last evening because there was no conveyance, so.
But what was the
For-
town
for Jewel
council?
Road.
Mr. Chase, were you there?
Yes.
Was the council aware that the proposed remaining access, the discontinued Ballard Road, is in fact no longer an access?
No. We were told that because this very concerned that Mr. Cello brought up, was brought up last night, that we did not want to landlock the town forest. And that was brought up, and we were told that things were in the works for access on this very piece. It said from the end of Olson Road into the town forest, that access via that route was being addressed.
So I'm thinking we got this out of sequence then, because the planning board can't, by statute, create a landlocked parcel.
Correct.
We just can't by law. And so if the highlighted discontinued road is no longer an access, and there are plans in the works to create another one, I think we would need to do those two things at the same time. We can't extinguish the only remaining access until another one is in place, at least at the same time. That would be my opinion.
Okay, I know that there was, the easement was on this original subdivision plan, proposed pedestrian easement. There was no further action. And so no, the planning board never discussed the easement. I'll be completely honest. I was there for the approval of it, and I never saw it on the plan. the planning board never discussed it. We would have, that would have been a condition of approval if it had been noted to follow up and get easement documents. So that action never took place back in 22 when this plan was approved, or 23, whenever it was. So before the board tonight is the, are we going to continue an access that, a proposed access that had no follow-up and has been basically extinguished by town council? We're supposed to kind of memorialize that on a plan. The access to the town forest, before this subdivision was approved, was through that discontinued road. So I think that is not a, that is, I don't believe that access to the property is something that is before the board tonight. I understand your statement about we can't create a landlocked parcel, but that parcel had no access to it other than through that area prior, unless people were coming in through the end of Jewel. But my understanding is there's a ravine there too.
Yeah, so this sounds like a problem in that the access off of Jewel is not practical because of slopes, and that people may have been using the discontinued road, technically trespassing on private property, and no one complained.
Right.
I don't think that changes the issue with regard to a landlocked parcel, because if it was discontinued, and the GIS system doesn't update to show that thing gone, then that was an oversight. And if, again, I did read Bernie Wall's book back in the day. Typically with these things, there is a dedication and an acceptance, and usually one happens close after the other. In this case, the dedication would have been drawing it on the plat and having the plat recorded. That's a dedication. The acceptance is when the town council said, yeah, we'll accept it and we'll maintain it. So we have here a dedication that had no acceptance.
Correct.
Town council was told last night that they should go ahead and relinquish any interest in that dedication. But in doing so, I think they're also creating a landlocked lot, which I don't think they're lawfully allowed to do. Sorry.
Yeah, and the Conservation Commission was very clear that they were not interested in access from Jewel in their discussion. So these are just facts I'm presenting to you.
Yeah, and maybe this thing is effectively already, landlocked. We would just be making it official. I'm just a little concerned that we're not supposed to do that.
I mean, from a planning perspective, I'm not in favor of extinguishing it, but the facts are the facts, and town council voted last night to not accept it.
Why did they get in front of the council?
Could we go back to the town council and say, gee, would you have reconsideration? This is maybe things you didn't think about? I don't know. Just to Chase.
We can make a motion to read.
Maybe we check with our lawyer.
So we didn't say we wouldn't accept it. What we had said was that we, as per the Conservation Commission, we had no interest in it due to what the Conservation Commission report was. So we never said we would not accept it. We said we had no interest in it. And we came to that conclusion due to the fact that we were told that something was in the works off Olson Road, because this very subject came up last night at the council meeting. We didn't want to landlock it.
We have people that want to say something.
Hear from the abutters,
Yeah, it's a public
maybe?
hearing,
Yeah.
so if you can help us out of this quandary, absolutely, please.
Hi, Sarah Ricardo, 31 Olson Road. So my property is right next to Lucy Peoples' property. We're kind of the access is sandwiched between our properties. But what I did want to say is last night at the meeting, twice, the statement was made that when the Conservation Committee did their walkthrough, that they did it with the neighboring people, that we were involved. and that was false. We had, I will say, I looked out the window and I saw people walking. I didn't know, like at the time, I didn't know who Mr. Bennett was. I don't quite know why Mr. Bennett was with the Conservation Committee, but they were there and they were looking. We had I didn't know. I know the Peoples didn't know. My neighbors on the other side across the street, we had no idea that they were walking through. So I kind of feel like we've been blindsided because in dealing with Jewel Lane, I feel like they were giving the alternative and bringing the attention of Olson and Ballard, which, to be very honest, if you do a walk-through, is an extremely dangerous corner. There's a house right on the road, which is kind of one of the original houses from the area, that cars have gone into their porch twice. Every year, our nail box gets knocked down. It is right, Olson Ballard is right on that corner. So again, I'm just saying that I feel like because they wanted to take the attention away from Jewel Road, this area was brought up, and to be told that we were part of it and involved in it, which sounded like we approved of it, when it was the first, we didn't know about
Yeah,
it.
so that's really a Conservation Commission notice issue. But may I ask you, are you under the belief that you and your abutter share a common line down the middle of what used to be that road? Is that half your property?
Yes.
Yes.
Our properties, there's a pull-in, we have a dirt driveway, a gravel driveway, and then the town land is up to the left, but it sandwiches between our property, and there really isn't much space between the People's line and our line. It's a very narrow section, which goes up what I guess they call a paper road.
Yeah, so it's not even a paper road anymore if it's discontinued. It's extinguished, it's gone. So we have two people testifying that they own half of that. So it's pretty clear that it was discontinued in 1922. And maybe in 1922, they didn't worry about landlocked lots. I don't know. I'm just saying, we can't really consider it as an alternate access today, because it's not.
Can we table now and just do more research? I mean, Mr. Chase, being on the town council, mentioned there's something else in the works, which is fine. I just don't want to landlock that piece. And if there is another access piece.
We were told that if this was to be brought up as something to even be discussed, that we would all receive letters in the mail. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm hearing about this, but not directly. So, if I hadn't listened to the town council, town council meeting last night, I wouldn't have known that they were stating that we were all part of it. We were not.
So your former, road that was on your boundary is not before us tonight. We're just trying to determine, is that an existing access so that we can safely and happily extinguish the other access without creating a technically landlocked lot. Now,
Are you excuse me, Mr. Chairman, are you on Jewel Road? On the very end of that cul-de-sac?
No, I'm Olson, like Olson
you're
and
over here.
Ballard,
Okay, never mind.
Olson ends,
She's this
Ballard
one.
begins.
Okay.
So I'm the last house on Olson, the Peoples are the first house on Ballard.
Yep, I just got confused with the other.
Yeah, it's confusing, they broke through Olson.
yeah, I would suggest, if the board is willing, that we continue this plan and we get legal advice to say, can we extinguish this other easement based on what happened in 1922 or not?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'd second that motion.
Well, we gotta close the public hearing before we decide that.
Oh,
but
there might be
it's just
we have other
a
people.
suggestion if we
There's
don't have
other
all the
butters.
data in front of us.
We did receive legal advice stating that the easement off of Jewel could be extinguished.
And they said that because they thought that the other road was, what was their logic? What facts were they given?
I don't have that file in front of me, but I know that we had provided the information. I'm pretty sure I gave the deed info. Were you part of that? I don't remember it. Okay. The advice that we had received was that because there was no conveyance of the easement to the town, the proposed pedestrian easement off of Jewel could be extinguished. That would be the appropriate action to take. Now, any future plans to create access along Olson would require town council action because they're in charge of roads. So that would be a whole separate action, basically under the purview of Conservation Commission and town council.
Yeah, it'd be helpful if I actually had a peek at that letter from council. But, I mean, to the extent that there was a dedication and no acceptance for years, he's probably got he or she has probably a very good point. As to the, the status of, but for this defective easement, is this landlocked? That's a different question.
I will say that regardless of the easement or no easement off Jewel, all the property before it was subdivided, everything was status quo. There was just that one discontinued access to that town forest.
And I guess I'm wondering, at that time, did they add the one off of Jewel just for that reason?
Just for the, I think it was just to say, we're gonna throw this as an extra access, pedestrian access off of that. That's what I recall when that came about. Because there was no access from the Coopers.
Right. Well,
When it was all one lot.
I mean, if it's, I just think we should continue and do a little bit more research because you have town property that people want to enjoy. And if they have no access to it, that's a problem.
We should probably hear from all the abutters first.
Yeah, let's continue to hear from anyone else who has thoughts on this. Please sit down and give your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Carl Accardo, 31 Olson Road. I was Russ Marcou's appointee on this board at one point, the town council appointee. I understand that you folks operate very, very legalistically, which is terrific. I think that's good. That's really what it has to be. Let the cards fall where they do. But it also requires me to bring up the following points. Part of the mandate I always viewed was that you have to consider safety as well when you plan anything. With respect to a site walk that occurred, which was by accident happened upon as somebody walked across my front lawn, I have no problem with that. I see it all the time with hunters in particular. If it's a Yahoo, they're going to hear from me, which is another matter pertaining to Yahoos and safety. That particular forest is one of the smallest pieces of conservation land in the community. I hear guys out there with all sorts of weapons firing like it's a fully automatic weapon with their little semi. I'm not an anti-gun person. I let hunters on my land. I let them do what they have to do once I know who they are. But the idea that this could become, more frequented than it is, which, by the way, I'm digressing because I haven't had a chance to really put things together completely in my mind here. There's been no discussion with anybody in terms of other plans for Olson and Ballard from the Conservation Commission. Nothing. We were told the opposite, actually, that at some point, they may look at it, but right now it's going to stay the way it is. Is there an ordinance, by the way, which requires that there be 2 points of easement on any town conservation land? And if it's not, why?
I'm not aware of any town ordinance that requires that. I mean, there is a state law that says that you cannot subdivide a property so that it becomes landlocked.
Yep, okay. Well, I think that's something they should look into. I mean, we're going back to the May Caston days when that type of thing was overlooked because of a developer wanted to put something somewhere or another, That should be looked at. There should be, at least, if you're going to have a piece of conservation land, there should be 2 points of access for safety and for ease of use. I also heard somebody refer to the fact that somebody on the Conservation Commission, I think, they referred to it tonight, said that it's very steep to walk down from Jewel Lane. You want to talk about steep? How about looking where it is at Olson Road? Have any of you been to that particular road? You haven't been there, right?
No.
Nobody?
I don't even know what they.
Have you been there,
What
John?
they're talking
I
about.
was here today.
Yeah. Can you describe, or should I describe what it's
Well, I
like
mentioned
right
like a cliff. It's like a cliff off of Jewel Road. straight down.
Exactly, exactly. You know, again, people come along, you know, hunters in particular, and, you know, they're ready to go out. That's what they're out. They're walking in the woods, and they're used to it, you know. And the fact is that, you know, it would cost an enormous amount of money and effort, and also introduce a significant safety concern to that turn. I would suggest you talk to the police, talk to the fire department. I had Al Cote come out. Great guy. We really miss him. He did a great job for this town for many, many years for highway. I had him come out, and he did a count. Just look at the average speed down Olson Road and onto Ballard. It's like Le Mans, you know? And as my wife said, we don't lose one mailbox. We lose 3 or 4 every single winter, you know? The neighbor that she referred to has had cars come into his front porch, which I learned about just recently. I would also talk to the school buses, especially the ones coming out of East Derry, which is the community, that the school servicing the community. They're running 2 times per day, and you can see kids walking home from school or walking to school. Al, again, I requested that turn that they made where Olson and Ballard makes a sharp turn, that they actually increase the width of the sidewalk, which was not there, to try and slow it down a little bit. And they did, and I think it's been well received by everybody that we did that. And more importantly than anything is talk to the neighbors. Talk to the neighbors of the area. Get a feel for what it's like at that turn. I don't want to deprive anybody of being able to go to the town forest. We haven't stopped anyone. Not many people go, frankly. But when I look at Jewel, and I go up in that rotary, and it's flat as can be, it is parking all around the perimeter, and there's a pedestrian access, not an automobile access, it's a pedestrian access. It's at the end of a cul-de-sac by itself. It's absolutely the wrong decision to not allow a pedestrian walkway there, in addition to what you may have currently up at Olson Road. It's not going to be one or the other. It's going to have to be both. I think that's what. I think the ordinance is important, Dave. I think you should have 2 access to.
Yes, I understand you think that would be a good thing. It's just that lawfully, we don't own that property, so it would have to be a taking.
Yeah, eminent domain.
And that's not within the planning board's purview, so.
Okay, all right, yeah. Well, anyways, as I said, I'm sorry I was disjointed tonight, but I wasn't fully prepared. It's probably a good thing. But that's all I got to say. I hope you guys really consider what the implications are, and I know you do, because I used to be on this board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Accardo. Anyone else have something to contribute?
So I'll be brief. I'm Paul D. Antonio, and I own 29 Olson Road. So that abandoned road or something like that, I'm an abutter to that property. I'm the neighbor that they referred to, so twice since I've owned my house, cars have hit my porch. It's up close to the road. Our dog ran out in the road, got killed, run over. So that's sore. We jokingly refer to that as the Olson 500 because the speed of people coming around that curve, I mean, you can hear screeching tires all the time. So to have additional people or people coming in to park or something like that is a safety concern. And we want to make sure that.
Well, let me just assure everyone in the audience that nothing before us tonight is going to create an access off of Olson Road. We're debating whether one exists, and we've determined it does not, but that is not within the scope of what we're talking about. So all of the concerns about parking and speeding on that road is really not germane to the application that we're talking about.
Okay.
We can't really do anything regard that because, number one, it's town council. Number two, it's not an application before us, so it's not in scope for us.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate your concerns. I want to just let everyone know, that is not on the table tonight.
Okay.
Yep. Anyone else?
So can we make a motion to continue and so we can gather some more information? Since we did accept jurisdiction. The clock's ticking, so.
Well, we have to close the public hearing first for you when you motion like that.
Mr. Valentine?
I'd say whatever you decide to do, continue or not continue, just if you could be as specific as possible as to what you're looking for, from a combination of working with Liz and Dreamcatchers and the Cooper, so we can pull it together for you.
Right.
Thank you.
Procedurally, I think it might be appropriate not to close the public hearing, but to continue the public hearing to the next available date. That way the public hearing never closed, it just continued, as opposed to closing it. So if we choose to do that.
All right, can I just add one additional piece of information? So I'm just looking over my emails to Attorney Buckley. And the question to him was limited to the plat that was recorded in 2023. And we did not, I'm just looking through the notes here. I did not, because that wasn't the matter on the table and it wasn't a planning board thing, I did not mention the access on Olson. So Attorney Buckley focused his attention purely on what the law would say regarding extinguishment of that easement. And where it wasn't conveyed, the appropriate way to remove it would be a planning board action to amend the subdivision. Because I asked him, what's the process? I think this is what we're supposed to do, but I wanted to verify that legally so that we were following the appropriate steps.
Liz, you said it wasn't conveyed, but it was recorded?
I'm sorry?
It was not conveyed,
Yeah,
but it
so,
was recorded?
So the subdivision that was recorded in 2023 shows the pedestrian, proposed pedestrian easement across 12 Jewel to the town forest. But when you have an easement, there also needs to be a conveyance of that easement by, you need to record the easement and note it in the deed. That piece did not occur.
Yeah.
And so
You're saying
it's
not
incomplete.
conveyed, but it's recorded in the Rockingham Registry.
It
of
is,
Deeds.
and that's why we would need to amend the subdivision to remove it. And basically, town council, and I'm sorry, my wording was incorrect when I said didn't vote to accept it. They acknowledged last evening that there was no conveyance. They confirmed there was no conveyance of the
No,
easement to the town.
I understand
Yeah.
that they got what they got for information.
I think that everyone may have been a little bit misled by this drawing, which was recorded in what, 2023?
That one? Yeah, probably.
Because if it was discontinued in 1922, that little easement roadway should not have been shown there. It was gone as of the date this was recorded. So it was wrong the day it was recorded. And it's misleading to let people think it's actually still in existence, and it's not.
But the interesting thing, without that being shown, we would have never picked that up. That's the thing. Well, maybe not, though. So I made that motion to continue, Mr. Chairman.
There may not be any valid access to this property. It may be de facto landlocked right now. And we would just basically be making that
Correct.
formal.
Correct.
I guess my only question is, should the planning board be voting to take a formal action that ratifies making a landlocked lot?
Prior to the subdivision that was recorded in 23, that parcel was landlocked, the town forest.
Yeah, but our lawyer never saw that other piece coming up Ballard Road. So I think it needs to go back to him, so we can look at two pieces and find out whether or not we are putting in a
But we can't, the planning board doesn't have any authority to create access off of Olson.
He's gonna have to verify whether we're right in what we're saying, is that we're gonna have to do something about that, or we landlocked it.
Mr. Healy.
Yes, I just had one point to make. You referenced attorney, was
Buckley.
it Buckley? So I believe he's with NHMA. Could we send this to our town legal counsel and, obviously look at the opinion of Attorney Buckley, but get the town legal counsel? We use a different attorney with the town.
And Buckley's not legal?
I mean, it could well be that the legal defect occurred many years ago, and we're being asked to ratify it. So that's why I'm kind of hemming and hawing, is, are we really making it worse? Technically, we are. In fact, we may not be, because it may not actually exist. Neither access may exist today.
Well, it wasn't conveyed, so that would be true.
An access point has been an access point for over a certain amount of years. It would be maybe considered as an access point.
You talking about adverse possession?
Uh-huh.
Oh, come on, okay.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, but I don't want to go there.
Well, I think Mr. Healy's got the right idea. I think we should probably continue this. In the meantime, talk to our attorney.
And I'm asking the attorney exactly what?
Ask him, given the complex nature, the fact that what appears to be a roadway, according to what I'm understanding now, was discontinued in 1922, so it should not have ever still been on that plat in 2023. So the only access that makes this non-landlocked would be the one off of Jewel. And so can we extinguish that as well, meaning that once we do that, there is absolutely no public access to this lot. It is completely landlocked. And if it's a town lot, maybe that's okay, but I know we're not supposed to.
Well, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut from this point.
Before you do that, Liz, one question that hasn't even been asked here is, given the time since the plan was accepted to now, can it even be accepted? Can the council even accept it now? This easement?
Off of Jewel?
Yes.
Yes. Easement if the planning board voted to retain it,
Mm-hmm.
they would also have to vote to ensure that the easement document got recorded and included in the deed for 12 Jewel.
Okay.
So that the conveyance actually occurred, but then town council would have to accept
Correct, that's
the
what I'm saying.
easement on behalf of the Conservation
Does the council
Commission.
even have the opportunity to accept it if, where it has been so long, can
Yes.
it still be accepted?
Yeah, the deed for 12 Jewel hasn't even been created yet.
Okay.
Yeah. But, I would just remind the board that the Conservation Commission has said they didn't see value in it,
Right.
and they didn't want the easement from Jewel.
Absolutely, I understand that, and I
But
take that at
that's-
face value. I'm just going with,
Yeah,
I don't want the planning board to violate state law.
correct. Mhm.
Because there's really two jobs for the chairman. One is to try to facilitate the meeting, make sure everyone
Yeah.
speaks up and gets heard. The other one is to keep the town out of court. Any other novel thoughts? Anyone who has not chimed in yet have some thoughts on how we proceed on this?
Does Chair Cello have a motion on the floor?
I just made a motion to continue. I'm sorry. I was gonna make-
Be less timid, Brian.
I'm sorry, yeah. I'll make a motion. This discussion to, I guess, the next meeting? Would that give us plenty of time for Liz to contact the attorney? And then, Mr. Chairman, you mentioned that we would remain having the public.
Yeah, so
chime in.
the motion is to continue the public hearing to a date certain, which basically means, on that date, we will reopen the public hearing as if it had never closed. There will be no new abutter notices, because you were here when we continued it to a date certain, and that's the notice you're gonna get.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Yes, if this motion would be to the next available meeting.
Which would be?
May 21st.
Do we have time on that agenda?
Abbott Court is the plan under consideration for the 21st.
Well, we have until, what, 10:30?
You'd have to vote at 9 o'clock to extend the meeting.
What is the timeliness of the requirements that we make a decision? Do we need to move it to the
June.
to the next meeting, or I'm asking the applicant representatives, what is, I don't want to have you come back and then have the whole meeting taken up with other matters.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, if the attorneys are going to make some determination that you're going to rely on, it seems like it's not going to be a half hour's worth of discussion or 45 minutes discussion. Because they're going to say, you have to do this, you can extinguish it, don't worry about the landlocked part, or they're going to say, we have to do a bunch of other stuff, and now we're talking about weeks.
So you're okay for the next meeting?
The next meeting would be my preference, yes.
Okay, because we do have the clock to think about, so.
Thank you.
So is there a second to Mr. Cherichello's motion to continue? Seconded by Mr. O'Connor to continue the public hearing until the May 21st. Okay? I'll poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Minervini?
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Cherichello?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So come on back on the 21st, and we will take this up again, and hopefully we'll have some clarity as to what we should do about it. Thank you all for coming. Okay, hopefully the next one is easier. Nicoleos and Tazis, I hope I didn't murder that too bad. PID 59013, 4 Mark Avenue. Cheryl Rivera, PID 59011, 14 Hilda Avenue.
Okay, so the applicant is requesting a lot line adjustment between 4 Mark and 14 Hilda. The lots are in the MDR zoning district, which requires a 1 acre minimum lot size, 125 feet of frontage, and building setbacks of 35 feet to the front and rear. Both lots are pre-existing non-conforming with regard to lot size. On April 17th of this year, the ZBA granted a variance to allow a lot line adjustment between the two properties, which would result in 14 Hilda becoming even more non-conforming with regard to lot size. The intent of this application is to transfer 922 square feet of property from 14 Hilda to 4 Mark, where a new single-family home will be constructed. There's an existing shed belonging to 14 Hilda in the proposed land transfer area, and the shed will be removed. For the newer members, lot line adjustments in and of themselves are not final until the documents reflecting conveyance of the lot area have been placed on file with the registry. And they're essentially private transactions that require planning board approval. Public hearings are required by Derry's regulations. So the ZBA appeal period has not expired. And if the request is approved, recording of the Mylar should not take place until all appeal periods are expired. There are 2 waiver requests, one for HIS mapping, one for traffic impact. And the recommendation is to review the lot line adjustment and waiver requests. The application appears to be complete. Regional impact is not required, and a suggested motion has been attached to the staff report. Ryan is here from Lavelle Associates representing the applicant.
Would someone like to make a motion on jurisdiction?
Mr. Chair, move to accept jurisdiction of the lot line adjustment plan before the board for Nicolaos, sorry about that, Huntzis, PID 59013, 4 Mark Avenue, and Cheryl Rivera, PID 59011, 14 Hilda Avenue.
Moved by O'Connor, seconded by Cherichello. Poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Minervini?
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Cherichello?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Can I have a motion to open a public hearing?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Moved and seconded to open the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is open. Do you have any opening statements to make?
Yes. Hopefully this one's easier than the last one for you guys. I hope to, anyway. But good evening, members of the planning board. For the record, my name is Ryan Lavelle. I'm with Lavelle Associates. I'm here this evening representing both Nick Hansis of 4 Mark Avenue and Cheryl Rivera of 14 Hilda Avenue for this minor lot line adjustment application. So this is a straightforward proposal involving the transfer of the small parcel noted previously being 992 square feet or 0.0228 acres. From tax map 59 lot 11 to tax map 59 lot 13. So on our plans, this area is labeled as parcel A, and it's clearly shown on both sheets of the submitted drawings that you have. The first sheet is that recordable sheet that will be recorded at the registry, and the second sheet has the topographic information as required by the Town of Derry's subdivision regulations. The need for this lot line adjustment is largely due to the fact that the dwelling over at 4 Mark Avenue had fallen into disrepair and was proposed to be removed and replaced with the new home. As a part of that process, the owner received variances for proximity to the front property line and a nearby wetland. In refining the layout for the new dwelling, this lot line adjustment allowed for a bit more space for site improvements and importantly realigns the lot line to follow an existing tree line, which is a physical feature that most would already assume was the boundary between these two properties. It's worth noting, as stated before, that we got a variance because there was a pre-existing non-conforming lot that got slightly smaller based on this application, and that was, again, granted April 17th, and the 30 days is not up for appeals. At this point, we need to set, I believe it's 5 granite monuments. That has not been done yet in the field, but we are committed to do that within the next few days or next week at worst. And obviously that would have to be done before the creation of any Mylar. So this will eliminate the need for either property owner to post any sort of bond. And at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board or public may have.
So I have one technical question.
Yeah.
Is the largest existing structure on lot 11 truly an existing garage, or is that the existing residence?
No, it's mislabeled dwelling. That's one of the housekeeping stuff that I go through in recording the plans, is making sure everything's labeled pretty and stuff, but no, that's
Please fix that. Other than that, I don't have any other questions.
Yeah.
Can you just repeat that? There's no house on that lot?
No, there is. It's,
Which one, though? Oh,
The biggest one is not a garage, it's a house.
yeah.
the largest square, okay.
Yeah, with the deck and the sunroom and everything, it's just mislabeled as a garage, but that's already been fixed on my plans. You guys don't have that version of said plans.
Mr. Churchill, you have a question?
I do, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it's 1 acre, is the zoning, correct? 1 acre?
Is that true? Yeah.
I mean, where you're picking up the extra line, are you shrinking that down? You still have more than 1 acre over there?
No, that's what we stated previously was both of these properties are pre-existing non-conforming lots with that zone that they're in. They're both undersized to start with, hence why we needed a variance to even transfer that 992 square feet from map 59 lot 11. We made map 59 lot 11 less conforming. And
Okay, so that's where the variance was on
Yeah.
lot 11?
for that transfer, yeah.
So now I'm going to lot 13.
Yes. Lot 13 is getting bigger, so if you want to look at it, map 59, lot 11 was the one that achieved the variance.
But that's not 1 acre lot either, though?
No.
And does that have a variance? It says
No,
proposed single-family dwelling.
As I stated, that property's variances are for the proximity to the front lot line and the wetland. It's didn't need a variance for lot size getting smaller because it's getting bigger.
Okay. And then, one more, Mr. Chairman. So I'm looking at between the lot line changes, you've got a shed right there.
Yep.
In between.
Yep.
So.
It's labeled TBR for to be removed.
Oh, I can't, my eyesight is horrible. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and I
That's what-
believe Elizabeth said that in the beginning too,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
but-
it's TBR for to be removed.
Yeah, I didn't want any issues down the road if someone sells a house and, the shed's too close to the line and all that stuff.
Understood.
All right, thank you.
At this point, is there anyone in the audience who has questions or comments on this plan? Nope. All right, so back to the board. Any other questions or comments?
Just one quick, I mean, we're here for a lot line change. The other stuff that I mentioned really is something in the future, so I just want to point that out.
All right, so someone ready to make the next motion?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second?
All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is closed.
And, Mr. Chair, seeing no more questions, I'll go over the waivers. You want each one individually or combined?
Any objection to combining them from the board?
Two different criteria.
Then we'll move to grant a waiver from LDCR Section 170-24A, parent 12, to not provide HISS mapping, as after the review of the waiver request, the board finds that strict conformity to the regulations would pose an unnecessary hardship to the applicant, and the waiver would not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the regulations. We then on to the next one. Move to grant a waiver from LDCR Section 170-24A, parent 18, to not provide a traffic impact statement, as after a review of the waiver request, the board finds that strict conformity to the regulations would pose an unnecessary hardship to the applicant, and the waiver would not be contrary to the spirit and the intent of the regulations, Mr. Chair.
Second?
Moved by O'Connor, seconded by Malaby. If there's no question, I'll poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Malavine?
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarichello?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
Mr. Chair, the finding of fact, move to find the proposed plan does not alter existing conditions which would affect access to the lots, ensuring the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood remains unchanged as the results of the adjustment of the lot line.
Second?
Moved by O'Connor, seconded by Malaby to make findings of fact. Poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Minavini?
Yes.
Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarichello?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
Okay.
On approval.
Mr. Chair, after reviewing the deliberation of the lot line adjustment application for PID 59013, Nicholas Hansis, and PID 59011, Cheryl Rivera, the board finds that the applicant has satisfied the general requirements of the land development control regulations, or in cases where the regulations cannot be met, has satisfied the waiver requirements. Therefore, the motion is to approve pursuant to RSA 676:4, Roman numeral 3, expedited review with the following conditions. Subject to owner's signature. Subject to on-site inspection by the town engineer. Establish escrow for the setting of bounds or certify the bounds have been set. Note, approved waivers are on the plan. Obtain written approval from the planning director designee that the GIS submission is received and is operable, and it complies with the LDCR Section 170-24C. Conditions precedent shall be met within 6 months. Submission of the appropriate recording fees payable to the Rockingham County Registry of Deeds. This includes the $25 LCHIP fee, recording fees for the Mylar, and the notice of decision. Add a note to the plan stating approval by Dairy Planning Board in and on of itself does not effectuate a change in the lot line configuration. The approval constitutes recognition by the town of Derry that the lot configurations as proposed are in conformance with local land use regulations or as otherwise accepted with non-conformance. These documents reflecting conveyance of the lots by deed shall be recorded at the RCRD along with the final Mylar.
Second?
And fix the nomenclature about the garage in the house.
Thank you.
Question on the second to the last bullet. Is that new?
That is, yep, and that is recommended by New Hampshire MA to have those on the plans because the lot line adjustment, just by recording the lot line adjustment, that doesn't make it legal. You have to have the deeds recorded with it.
Okay.
Or subsequent, because it's the recording of the deed that makes the lot line adjustment legal.
Okay, I guess that's fine. It just seemed new and odd. All right, any
Yep.
questions? Mr. Chase?
Does anything need to be in the conditions that the ZBA appeal process is not done so that nothing can be recorded until after that period? Or is that already known?
Well, I think we'll be okay because by the time the ZBA appeal period is over, like, we wouldn't record until our appeal period is over
Okay.
anyways. So it should be all right.
Should be good.
Normally, we wouldn't, we'd wait for the appeal period before we accepted
That's-
jurisdiction.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
I'm
that's
getting
why
at.
it was noted.
Okay.
Okay, any other question, discussion? So.
We made
moved,
motion on
and-
this.
You second it? Yep.
Second.
Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Minervini?
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Curatolo?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes.
Thank you very much, members of the board.
Thank you.
All right, last item on the agenda is Martin Auger, PID 19065, 601 Colette's Grove Road, PID 19065-001, and 11965-002. This is a consolidation and re-subdivision of 3 lots.
Okay. So, on December 17th of 2024, the Town Council approved Resolution 2024-075, which restored 3 lots involuntarily merged by the town. The 3 lots predate zoning. The parcels are located in the low-density residential district, which requires a minimum of 3 acres, 200 feet of frontage, and building setbacks of 35 feet to the front and 15 to the side and rear. Few, if any, of the lots in this neighborhood conform to today's zoning standards. The intent of this application is to merge the 3 lots into one and then subdivide it into 2 lots, retaining a lot for the existing home and then creating 1 new building lot. Variances were granted on March 6th of 2025 to allow the properties to be subdivided into 2 lots after they had been consolidated, creating lots with less than the required frontage, lot area, lot width, and lots that would be located on a private way. The lots are very small and challenging. The well radii are not on the lots being served, and the well radius and easements and releases will need to be obtained as part of the state well approval process. The fire department assigned the addresses of 601 and 601.5 Colette's Grove Road during the TRC process. However, the assessing department has yet to sign off on the proposed parcel ID numbers. You have 3 waiver requests, 1 to allow overhead electricity where underground is required, 1 not to provide HIS mapping, and 1 not to provide a traffic impact statement. Town of Derry driveway permit will be required for the new lot if approved. The recommendation is to review the proposed plan and submitted waivers. Regional impact, regional impact would apply to this. And the suggested motions are attached to the staff report. I would like to note that we received a couple of calls from abutters, and I did receive an email today from, I'm going to massacre this name, but I think it's Regine Blay. And I can either mention the comments now, or I can wait until the public hearing. It would be the chair's preference.
Yeah, why don't you just read it for the record in the public hearing?
Okay, during the hearing, okay.
So on the matter of jurisdiction, what's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I move to accept jurisdiction of the 3-lot consolidation and the 2-lot subdivision plan before the board for Martin Auger, PID 19065, Next one is 19065-001 and 19065-002, 601 Colette Grove Road.
Second.
Moved by O'Connor, seconded by Malaby. To accept jurisdiction, Mr. Chase.
Yes.
Mr. Healy.
Yes.
Mr. Fishman.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Malavini.
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier.
Yes.
Mr. Chiricello.
Yes.
Mr. Malaby.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion to open the public hearing?
Oh, regional impact, I'm
So
sorry.
moved.
Yeah, regional impact does need, it's a subdivision, so we will need to determine if there's regional impact or not.
It
Yeah,
wasn't on the
sorry,
list.
yeah, I know. My error, I apologize. I would recommend that you not find, in knowing the criteria for regional impact, this doesn't transcend municipal
We'll let
boundaries, all
Mr.
of
Chase do that because he does it so well.
Should have a tape recording.
I need a motion.
Well, I thought you could make the motion.
Pursuant to the RSAs, and we can fill in the,
Yeah, just say, motion to find regional impact, and then vote no.
Correct. So somebody needs to make a motion for, does this determine regional impact with a second, and then we take a roll vote.
I was trying to get you to make the motion, and then he's going to second it.
Oh.
move to find regional impact.
Yeah. Move to find regional impact.
Second.
Moved by Chase, seconded by Malamy to find regional impact. Mr. Chase?
No, this is a small, local subdivision, does not meet the criteria of regional impact.
Mr. Healy?
No, for the same reasons.
Mr. Fishman?
No.
Mr.
No,
O'Connor?
Mr. Chair, no.
Mr. Minervini?
No.
Mr. Pelletier?
No.
Mr. Churchill?
No.
And Mr. Malamy?
No, for the same reason as Mr. Chase.
And chair votes no. Maybe we can always just shorten the motion to that, because that's really all we need to say.
Absolutely, you can feel
Yeah.
free to do that.
As long as in the minutes.
All right, now we can open the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Chair Charles, seconded by Malamy to open the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is open. Do you have an opening statement?
I do, yep. Again, good evening, members of the board. My name is Ryan Lavelle. I'm here with representing Martin Ogier, the property owner of the subject lots. I'm with Lavelle Associates, the surveying firm that prepared the plans, currently before the board for review and consideration. I'm going to start with some background about the property. Liz kind of went into it pretty good, and I may reiterate some stuff, but I just think it's important that the board's seen the steps that we've gotten to get to this point, and then what we need to do from there. So to provide some background on the property, these were 3 existing lots, each measuring approximately 0.1 acres for a total of 0.3 acres. Mr. Ogier purchased this parcel with an existing dwelling already located on site. You can see it on the plans in the corner. In the condition and location shown on the plans, the dwelling was in a state of disrepair. The owner has since been actively working to rehabilitate the structure, clean up the yard, and generally improve the appearance and functionality of said property. As a part of these efforts, Mr. Ogier is planning to install both a new well and new septic system on the lot that has the dwelling, significantly improving the property's infrastructure and livability. Now, this property was previously, again, involuntarily merged, and through the proper channels, the owner successfully petitioned the town council to have them restored to their original status. So this gave him back the 3 underlying lots that we're talking about, each small and constrained by these modern zoning standards that none in the neighborhood reach, really. Given the limited size of each lot, it wouldn't really be practical or make zoning sense to keep all 3 separate and attempt to build 2 new dwelling units and retain these lots, in addition to keeping the existing one. So the proposal before you is to consolidate the 3 lots and then re-subdivide them into more reasonably sized lots, each measuring 0.15 acres. This approach creates 2 equal-sized, more usable lots, one for the existing home and one for a new proposed dwelling. To move this forward, we went before the Zoning Board of Adjustment and were granted the 3 variances, one for lot frontage, one for lot width, and one for lot size, I believe. All 3 were approved by the ZBA. Following that, we entered the TRC review process, which involved the multiple town departments and staff. The concerns raised in that process were reviewed, and the updates were made to our plans, and here they are in front of you guys tonight. Our goal with this proposal is to create 2 better-sized lots than the 3, to support both the improved existing dwelling and the planned new home. Given both as much room and conformance as reasonably possible, given the constraints on this area. So, following planning board approval, plan recording at the registry, et cetera, a new septic design will be submitted and approved by New Hampshire DES for each lot to ensure proper wastewater management, environmental compliance, et cetera. All required monuments have been set on the site, and a letter has been submitted to the town confirming that, and I have that with me tonight. In addition, we are requesting 3 waivers, and I can do a quick summary. The overhead electric waiver, this is supported by town staff given the existing infrastructure on these roads. We're requesting that the method of utility connection be left to the discretion of the builder or owner. This avoids the need to return to the board in the future for something that's already standard practice in the area. The HIS mapping, which is high-intensity soil mapping. These are pre-zoning lots that long predate the current soil mapping and lot sizing standards. In this case, the lots are actually getting bigger, not smaller. So the benefit of requiring high-intensity soil mapping would be minimal. And as stated in the last one, an expense to the owner that's not necessary. Traffic study around the same thing. The roads involved are class 6 or private. They are gravel in nature, dead-ended, and serve only a small amount of properties. The addition of any single driveway is not expected to make any measurable impact on the area. So at this point, we believe we've addressed all procedural and technical requirements, and we've respectfully requested the board's thoughts on the lot consolidation and re-subdivision, as well as the waivers and public discussion.
So, technical question on the soils. You will have to provide some of that information to DES along with the
In the
septic
form of
approval.
test pits and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
High-intensity soil mapping would be done by a soil scientist, and, yeah, a little different, but we have done test pits on the site to do both of the septic designs. We do have that information. They came out to be good test pits, good perk rate. And,
Okay.
yeah.
Other comments or questions?
So what is the septic currently now? Is that a holding tank on the
No, there is,
That's a-
I'm not sure of the status of the septic system out there, but it's a traditional leach field. I'm not sure if it's stone and pipe, Enviro, et cetera, but where I show septic area on the existing house lot is where it truly is
Okay.
on the site. One of the big reasons for us doing a new septic system on that is if you look, the existing well that I show to be filled is also in the front yard.
That's a dug
And,
well? Dug well or drill?
Drilled well. And that's why we're proposing one in the rear, because the state wants to see as much
75.
separation as we can possibly get. I think the biggest waiver that they'll grant for a septic field to a well is like 35 feet, but if we can show that we can do something better for their own, we try to.
Okay.
All right, so any let me take comments from the public if there are any, and then we'll come back to the board. Does anyone in the public have comments? Once all the people in the room, then we'll read the written correspondence.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Oh, I have some pictures. I should have made copies. Can I get them?
Do you have, we don't have enough for everyone? We'll have to pass them around and share them.
Yeah. My name is Amy Rayu. I live at 604 Colette's Grove Road. If you could see the map up there, I am next to lot 60, so I would be the lot 59 on the map. I just wanted to say thank you to all the volunteers here. I know this is a volunteer board, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's late. And for those who work for the town of Derry, as a taxpayer, I thank you. My husband is here as well. I've lived here for 20 years. My husband's lived here for 25 years. We are against the subdivision. of these lots with the proposed new buildings, as it would negatively impact the environment. I want to share the concerns I have with you. Oh, the pictures going around are the pictures, I took them yesterday. It's a good example of what the rain does to this specific lot. My neighbors that lived there, Mike and Bernadette, for more than 20 or 30 years, often had plywood out on their lot to make it around their yard, and there was areas they didn't access. Because the lot is lower, it is the collection of where the water goes. So if they were to fill in this lot, 68 would be flooded. I'm not sure. 64 would be flooded, and then it would go into our lane. The road that you see there is lane 6. It's almost like slalom skiing right now. So there is definitely an impact if we were to add another house to this lane. Obviously, one of the concerns is flooding. We don't have drainage on our lanes. They're private. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Colette's Grove. So it's 70 lots that we all have rights to one deeded beach. And just for those of you to see where it says map 19 lot 68, if you could go further on this map, that's where Big Island Pond is. Most of the seasons here in the Grove are the wet season, so flooding on this property is not just to this season we're in right now. Currently, when you get to see the pictures, there's 130-foot pines there that are soaking up some of the water. Obviously, this possible dwelling or possible septic area would be affected if those trees were removed, and there'd be even more water and flooding issues. I did look up, according to Department of Environmental Services, you do need a septic system to be 75 feet from a well. I'm not familiar with the waivers, but we measured it today, and where the possible septic area is on, let's see, in the proposed side, is way less than 75 feet to my well, which would be lot 59, and then to my neighbor's well, 58. I'm not sure exactly the wells behind.
Yeah, what lot are you, 59 or 58?
We are 59. So what's on the map, you can see there, 60 is the Turners, then it's myself, and then my neighbors would be less than 55 feet from the proposed well.
Where is, okay.
I'm sorry?
Can we zoom the screen out a little bit?
Yeah, where is your well located?
Um,
The front of the lot or the back?
the front of the lot.
Okay.
Okay, so basically right around where it says 59, but to the left. Right where the number 59 is. Yeah, a little bit to the left, right about there. So it's less than 50 feet to the proposed well area and septic area. One of the other issues is the wear and the tear on the roads. Currently, you'll see in the pictures, I know they're not great pictures, but the company, whoever's working on the lot right now, is driving from the lane into the lot, and the lane is becoming part of the yard, or the yard is becoming part of the lane. When they first moved in and bought the property, they took down all of the living fence that was there, so there's no longer a boundary there between the lane and the yard. And just a reminder for the lanes, they're our responsibility, not the town's.
Right.
So, when we pay $5,000 a year to get them fixed, it lasts, about a year. And
So, quick question on
yeah,
that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Do you own your land, or is it an HOA?
we own our land.
But you said you pay somebody private to deal with the roads?
It's from our dues. We do it, we might rent the equipment, and then somebody will come in and somebody will volunteer to drive the equipment, and then we
Yeah.
get out with our rakes and shovels.
So let's get back into what I was just saying with the
Sure.
HOA, because you
Yep.
said that you pay dues.
Yeah, not much.
Who, is there like an association there?
Yep, I'm on the board as well.
Okay.
For the Colette's Grove
So
Association.
it's not fee simple.
It's not what?
You're on private roads, but
Yes.
it should, I would think it's an HOA, right?
Doesn't mean they don't own the land, though.
No, they own the land collectively, but she's paying dues.
Well, do you
I
own?
think she owns her own lot.
So do you own your own lot fee simple? Or does the HOA own all of the lots?
No, we own our lots individually. We have an
But-
association.
Association,
Yeah.
so and everybody has dues to pay.
For
Yeah.
the upkeep of common utility?
Yeah, for the upkeep of the roads and the lights on the beach and such. They're not forced, though,
Right,
so.
okay.
Let's see. There's also, I wanted to talk about a little bit of the bigger environmental impact. There's yearly water studies on Big Island Pond, and unfortunately, the water quality is diminishing because of the land and the buildings that are being put on the lake and around the lake. And it's being affected by those that are built or changed within 200 feet of the lake, which this property is as well. So that would be a concern. I forget the gentleman's name that spoke earlier to open the hearing. He talked about them making the lots look better. Yes, the existing house looks much better. Very appreciative of that. The issue is, though, when you have a new septic in the Grove, it goes above ground and you have a big mound taking up about a quarter of your yard. So unfortunately, somewhere in that zone, if this did go through, which we're saying that we don't think it would be appropriate, it would be a huge mound in the road. So not attractive. And then, just for the aesthetics, if you were to look at the lake in the winter, we can see it. If they put a building here, we would not be able to. So, but that's just aesthetics. So does anybody, and thank you for your help today, answering my questions for our first time doing this. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Well, let's let the applicant address all of your points.
Sure.
Nobody else. They don't want to speak.
Okay, I took a few notes on some of them. I'm sorry if I missed some of them. I do realize she said something about the taking measurements from her well and another well to our proposed septic area on the new lot. By state rule, you only need to maintain 75 feet from your own well radius. That rule changed, I believe, in 2023. So when you submit a septic, you do not need to show neighboring wells.
Really?
Their radius is not protected, as it used to be. I believe that change went into place because abutters and stuff if you figure you got 3 rectangular lots, right? And both people on both sides drilled wells really close together to the property line on each side. Well, that well radius, both of them would make it so that middle lot was burdened and nothing could happen without waivers, right? And these people wouldn't want to grant them. So there's no protection of other people's radius anymore, per DES rules.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's historically one of the reasons why we have minimum lot sizes, which don't apply in this case, just to cover that.
Yes.
So what we have is what we have, but that does seem a little,
Doesn't make sense.
I don't know, non-friendly, I guess, but is it a state statute or is it a state regulation?
I couldn't tell you which one of the two is. I just know that it's enforced. When I first started working and doing septic designs back in 2014, I used to have to worry about crawling all over all sorts of people's areas and getting every single well and asking for waivers and all sorts of stuff. And around 2023, that regulation passed, and I no longer have to do that.
Do you have any
On the DES,
highlights on that, Mr. LaRue?
it could be in the DES environmental rules, 'cause not only the RSA, but.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out what level of government we need to pillory for this.
I was going to say I could easily email the I have it hanging right in my office that rule. Could easily email it to Emily. Anybody tomorrow. But yeah, that's been something that the board
address the first abutters of questions, and then we'll take another abutter.
Yes.
So hold on, board members.
I have
please.
more too if you
Yeah, let's go through all of the points before you forget them.
I wrote down a few. I'm sorry if I missed the other one. There was talks. The owner's doing a great job fixing up the existing lot. She mentions the house improvements and I was just trying to express that the damage to the road and the parking and it seeming like it's extending into the road is merely a temporary thing. There's not a lot of space. The lane isn't very wide for parking any vehicles, and it's something that won't last, I would say. I would think that the all that area will be recovered and graded properly during the process of both the two septics getting installed, the other house going in, et cetera, that all these grading woes would be solved, I would think. I was trying to acknowledge something about water pooling in that area because inevitably with the new house, we'd want to bring in at least some material to try to bring everything up a little bit. I can speak for the owner saying that he probably wouldn't mind if we implemented some sort of drip trench dry well to be installed on the new dwelling. That way it would catch all the rainwater from the existing house and less. And I mean, that would be a concession. It does cost my client some money, but it could help with these drainage issues that may or may not be happening. The other one that, before I forget, the last one was the new septic. I can speak from experience that the septic has already been designed. I just haven't sent it to DES until approvals on the existing dwelling. And I have it with me, and there's no grading. We were able to make it deep to the point where it's going flush with the ground, going 2.5 feet below grade for the bottom of our bed. So, and a septic's 2 feet. So it's going to be flush and it's going to work out well. I don't know how it's going to work out with the other one, but I know that the test pit was the exact same in that location as the other. So I think that we're going to be able to do something very similar. It's not going to be a pump up mound. It's, so I know that was a concern of aesthetics, and it's just not going to take place with what we have proposed.
So I think a couple other things was, you're going to block their view of the lake.
I can't really say, I said it in the beginning of this, is that there's 3 lots there. I think it would be foolish to build two houses there. I think everybody on this board would agree, right? But there are 3 existing lots, right? So really what's in front of you guys is the consolidation and then re-subdivision into 2. I mean, I think that it's a good conclusion for what could be, and would also provide another home in an area of our state that is seeking housing, and in a neighborhood that I'm sure the house would actually be decently affordable for somebody that this isn't in a brand new subdivision. This, that the house could be like $900,000. It's just not. Private road, gravel road, small footprint. The new dwelling's going to meet all setbacks and not going to need any variances. It's very constrained. You can see the buildable area on the plan up above, but we're not going to ask for anything, and it's going to fit in there. So, was there anything else that you wanted me to address, or any questions, I guess?
Are these related to?
One of the questions that he presented. Just a quick question, though.
Okay,
Just
so
confirm.
I'm going to try to go through all the abutters before we go to board
no,
questions.
go
But if
ahead.
you have a question on his response, please go ahead.
My question would be is on the test pits there. Did I understand you correctly that?
You gotta get close to the mic.
Use the mic, John.
Get close to the mic.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So did I understand you correctly in the test pits that you, water table is 2.5?
No, that's how far the bottom of the bed goes in to the ground. So test pit tells you what the perk rate is, tells you how big a septic field needs to be, tells you what the seasonal high water table is, or the restrictive layer where the water passes
Do you
through.
know what the
We had
water table-
56 inches.
56?
56 inches on both of them down from the surface till we hit it.
Thank you. Thank you.
State rule is keeping 2 feet of separation above said seasonal high water table, and that's where you can put the bottom of your bed and build up from there. So if you have a high seasonal high water table, that's where you see those big mounds and stuff, but 56 inches is pretty good.
Thank you.
Do we have any other members of the public who have questions or comments at this point? I'm sorry? Yeah, you can have an outline, sure.
This feels kind of odd talking to you folks, but really it's back for him. I was under the understanding, and I don't know the law, that because of the flooding, the septic needed to be above ground. I don't know if you guys know anything about that.
So I'm not a soil scientist.
I did see him digging the sample.
They dig pits, and I can tell you, in my backyard right now, there are some areas of ponding on top of my leach field, just locally.
Yeah.
So I don't know that that's necessarily dispositive of whether that soil will quote unquote perk or not. The engineer has told us he dug a test pit and determined what the design was and believes that the DES will approve it. So the other thing that you mentioned that he did offer to remediate was surface water, for example, running off driveways or running off roofs and gutters. We have seen other developers in similar constrained neighborhoods where, yeah, they put in some sort of subsurface water recapture so that it's not flooding across the lawn, because we do have a requirement that the post-development runoff cannot be any higher than the pre-development runoff. So we won't be flooding the neighborhood. They will be treating whatever surface water they have on site. That's part of our regs.
Okay. I did look it up, and I couldn't read it quick enough to see the new updated law regarding the septic near the well. That's unfortunate because there's plenty of, like I said, I don't know the exact feet if I went over to lot 64, but it would be less than 75 feet to multiple lots. So that's concerning. So, okay, thanks. I just didn't want to forget Reggie's email, Ms. Robideau.
All right, so if we have no one else, can we read that correspondence for the record?
Sure. So good afternoon. I've received a certified letter requesting public input regarding the Osier property at 601 Coletts Grove Road. While I have no issues with consolidating the lots into one, I do have issues with putting two dwellings on that small parcel of land once consolidated. I have lived in this neighborhood for over 50 years. Our neighborhood has grown from mostly summer camps to full-blown year-round homes. Our infrastructure has not caught up with all the growth. There will be issues with not having available mailboxes for the homes. Our beach or right-of-way to the lake is only 58 feet, and we already have over 70 households on the Derry side. There's no drainage on Lane 6, and we maintain the road. The Big Island Pond Corporation is currently conducting a watershed analysis of our lake, and one of the items they are looking at is how overbuilding can cause water quality issues, along with failing septics and runoff. While I have no issues with one dwelling on this property, two would be just too much for such a small lot in an area that is already congested. The undeveloped lane, which referred to as Lane 8, is a fire lane and/or just a paper road. Thank you for allowing my input, and Reggie Bly.
Thank you. Members of the board, do you have comments or questions?
I just had a quick question of Randy Chase. You mentioned that Lane 8 is a fire designated emergency lane, but not this Lane 6, right?
Correct.
Because she had showed the pictures of how rough those roads were, but.
They are. They're very rough, and they're extremely tight. Most of them down there. The only one that's had any kind of improvement was Coletts Grove Road itself, the main road in and out. All the other lanes are extremely tight. They're dirt.
Okay. And just one quick comment, Mr. Chairman. Up at Concord right now, they're talking about allowing building on private roads, but what they're doing is they're requesting that a homeowner would actually sign a waiver that would be recorded at the Registry of Deeds that they have no expectation of the town being able to get down there with fire and ambulance. So, because they don't want to get sued, obviously, and this is private road, so I just want to make that comment. I don't know if that's going to pass and when it's going to pass, but it may.
Well, there is some even pre-existing regulation about requiring approval of the selectmen to build on a Class 6 road, so
Mhm. Right.
I presume that they would need the town council's approval at some point, right? Other comments or questions?
I
Mr. Healy?
just have some things to be clarified. So are we just voting to subdivide this, or if we subdivide this, are we then, does that then allow them to build on that property that's now divided? Or would there be a plan that then comes back to the board that we
Yeah,
look
so
at?
my understanding is they appeal to the town to remerge the lot, so they're effectively one lot now, because that process has been approved by the town council. They undid the involuntary merger. They are attempting to subdivide. Now, you have variances on this? Yeah, let's clarify what permission you have to create new substandard lots in the district.
Okay, just quick recap was that this was being taxed as one, and when we had it, it was involuntarily merged and the lots were restored. So currently, as we're sitting right now, and as the deed reflects, there's 3 lots here, right? 0.1 acres each. The intent is to consolidate them into one, which is 0.3. And you'd be able to approve this at the exact same time as 0.3, and then further subdivide after said consolidation right in half, 0.15 on each side. So as we are right now, there's 3 lots out there. That's why I have, right on the plan, it says lot line to be extinguished. Those 3 lots, that little area that I show on both sides would be where that middle lot would be. And was there anything else?
No,
I'm
well,
sorry.
I guess what I'm saying.
And the
once-
variances too, right?
We don't do it exactly at the same nanosecond. There is a little bit of sequencing,
Right.
right? So we
You'd have to do one.
approve the consolidation, then you have 1 lot, and then we approve the subdivision.
Right.
Which creates 2 lots out of 1.
Yes.
But the 2 lots, according to the current zoning for the district, are subsized.
That's correct. And the variances that I was able to get and that were needed was for lot frontage, because they don't meet it. They both have 70.7, and I'm sorry, I don't have what the requirement is in that zone right in front of me, but it certainly doesn't meet that, as well as the lot size. I believe I heard earlier that zone is 3 acres. Clearly, we're 0.15, and none of these lots around here, they're all about the same. They don't meet that. And one was for lot width. I don't have what that's supposed to be, but these are, rectangular lots. It's 70.7 in the front, 70.7 in the back.
So you have variances to create the substandard lots as
Yes.
shown.
Yeah, as shown.
And so.
These were the plans in front of the
for board
ZBA.
And for the public, the planning board doesn't get to second guess the zoning board. They've made that decision. The variance has been granted.
Yes.
And we have to accept that, meaning that these are now capable of being 2 lots of record. And once you have a lot of record, you are allowed to build a home on it as long as it meets the setbacks, septic, well, all those other regulations. So I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think the planning board has the authority to say, well, we can do the merger and have 1 lot, but we refuse you the subdivision, given the fact that there are variances to allow it.
Right. Merging them without re-subdividing would be like we just went backwards many months, because we got them back from an involuntary merger, and we're certainly not voluntarily merging after all this time to not get what we want at the end here, if you want to look at it like that. So I hope everything was pretty clear on. It started out really complicated even at my office, but I think that we finally got to the precipice of the thing.
You might want to add some design for surface water management, as we discussed.
Yeah, I would be very
a note on
happy
the
to
plan,
allow
because,
that as.
Even if you grade it so that there's not ponding, if you're creating larger roof surface, the water's got to go somewhere, and given that there's no drainage on these lanes.
Right.
You got to, I'm suggesting that the landowner needs to manage it on site.
Yeah, as I would assume would be common practice, but as I stated earlier, I would have no problem with making it a condition of approval that we include, even as a note that gets recorded with the registry, that the new dwelling shall have drip trench infiltration or equivalent before occupancy or something. I'm just spitballing because I'm trying to help with what the public's telling me and what I'm hearing. If there's flooding going in there, certainly regrading the lot with the new house is going to help that area with flooding, but maybe the roof of the house is going to hurt that. So being able to catch that in a infiltration basin and release it in the ground, it wouldn't cause runoff. It would be.
Mr. Lord, do you have any experience with these residential type water infiltration systems?
The problem is you don't have an outlet. Anytime you don't have an outlet to anything, you're just gonna store water in the immediate area. You have to have a way to discharge it. You know, that's why we amended our rules, even though we were trying to recharge the aquifer or trying to use exfiltration, I can't even talk, exfiltration into the area again. You have to still allow for something to fail and have an outlet. With these developments, it's very difficult to do that because you can do everything you want on your own little lot, but you can't find your way to the low ground if nobody else is gonna do their part. It's hard to legislate that.
Private roads.
Okay, so it sounds like it's best practices, best effort, but no promises.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, the essence with that is that the water's getting expelled underground and it's not running off as water with as much with silt and stuff like that onto other people's property. I'm sure there's a lot of drainage issues in there because, as stated, there's no catch basins, there's no retaining ponds out here. It's all predating zoning, needing civil engineering plans out here. So it's not like we could, have all of our drainage go to lot X that has a retention pond in that we can tie into. It's, the water's going to disperse how it's going to disperse in this case. And the only thing we can do is help it by instrument of something like a drip trench and better grading practices on the new construction. And maybe they can do some better grading practices at the same time on the existing home and try to make the whole thing more cohesive.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Mr. Chase?
So, I may be a little ignorant here, but if these lots were already merged, involuntary merger, they were one lot, why are we consolidating them?
Because
Or isn't it just a straight
it needs to
subdivision?
be reconsolidated to subdivide into two properties.
Okay, did not the council do that with their resolution 17?
They gave us 3 properties back. What we're trying to do is end up with 2 at the end.
Okay.
And we needed to go through these channels to get to the point where we are now.
Okay. I notice on lot 106.5, which would, the new lot
Yep.
to the right, where you're gonna put a new dwelling.
Yep.
I notice by the plat, that you are on the setbacks in 2 corners.
Yep.
So I would want a condition of approval that the foundation be pinned.
Yeah.
And that that it is known that the eaves are counted, not just the foundation. The eaves cannot go over the setback lines either.
Yep, and
So
that's,
if you've got 1-foot eaves, they can't be over that line either. So those pins are important there to make sure that all of the structure is inside of the setbacks.
yeah, I understand that, and the property owner does not want to go for variances on sideline setbacks, and what we have drawn is not based on any sort of house plan or whatever. It was merely for the observation of the board and stuff to see what possibly could happen out here. It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah,
I'm
no
not even-
insult, but the board has heard that before, and then when
And
it's
that's
built,
fair, and
it's...
yeah.
So I
But
would
yeah, I
like
would-
to make that a condition of approval when it is read.
Completely fine with that.
Okay.
What was that, Randy?
That the foundation, the setbacks for the foundation be pinned at the two corners where the plat shows that the building is going to be at the setbacks.
Okay, I'll ask you that when we get back.
And
Okay.
the eaves not exceed those setbacks either.
Correct.
Fair enough.
And if I could make one suggestion, you had stated that well easements are no longer required pursuant to 485A.
Right.
Okay. All right, so on that wording, maybe the board could say, well, easements, if required, shall be. I don't
Yeah.
know that you, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my other questions till you brought that up, is it's tight down there, and how close are these new septic systems to the neighbors' wells, but if that is actually the case, I was not privy to that either.
Regardless of the outcome, I will email that over to
Yeah.
Liz tomorrow if she doesn't already.
Yeah, I was trying to look it up and.
I was trying to look it up real quick on my
Yeah,
phone
and
back there, and there's so many articles and
At
them
9:30
talking
at
about.
night, it doesn't
it's-
compute.
It's nonsense, but I have it in my office. I can photocopy it first thing in the morning, and that way you can have it, and any of the board members could also see exactly what I was referencing there.
Thank you.
Yep. Might come up again, so good to have that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other
I have a
comments,
comment.
questions?
What's the rationale for requesting the waiver on the HIS mapping?
It's relatively the same as the last one, is that HIS would basically be redundant. It's high-intensity soil mapping. It tells you what group is where here. I have a feeling that it would probably be all the same. If you look at the contours, there's 2-foot difference between where Collette's Grove is and the back of the lot. HIS is very helpful to get state subdivision approval. It needs to meet a certain equation, as I'm sure Derry has their own HIS regulations for sizing. In this zone, I believe it's got to be 3 acres, no matter what anyway. So having HIS wouldn't really make sense, because we're never going to get to 3 acres. And it wouldn't, the information that it would provide, the soil groupings, I'm not sure would be useful to the board in this case.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Any other question, Mr. Melvin?
Just for my own benefit, the wells need to be 75 feet from the septic area, correct?
They need to be, and hence why we tried to put them as far into the corners as a lot as possible. And if they don't meet it, which in both cases this is not going to meet it, it requires a New Hampshire DES waiver. And the way that they look at waivers is basically you have no choice here with these small lots. I mean, there's not much that they can do about it at that case. You try to show that, hey, I'm putting my best practice forward. We're bettering a situation. We don't even know the status of what this septic is and stuff. We're trying to give you state-approved, well-practiced systems here.
But that's criteria on lot 65, why you're filling that one in and moving it to the...
Yeah, it would be too close to the property line too, because they're supposed to be 10 feet away per state rule, and we don't even know the status of it. So when he was fixing up this house, it's basically, he's trying to improve all the infrastructure. So it really helps.
Gotcha, thanks.
Anyone else?
Yeah, so just,
Mr. Healy?
just again, so approving this, they're able to then just build on that second lot without coming back to us with a plan. That was, that was my original question.
Yeah,
Like,
we don't actually,
Get
for
a-
residential uses, regulate plans. We only regulate footprints.
Okay. That was it. Thank you.
All right. You have a question?
Yes, I do have a question.
Use the mic, please.
Is the mic on? I'm sorry. Is the mic on? So I do have a question with regards to, I'm looking at the possible dwelling and the possible septic area. Is the intention for the landowner to, this square box looks quite bigger than the existing two-bedroom dwelling that's there. Is the intention to keep that a two-bedroom dwelling, or is it to
It ha-
make it a
it-
three-bedroom with a three-bedroom septic design area as well?
No, it certainly needs to be a two-bedroom, and
Okay.
as I alluded to previously, the possible dwelling rectangle was just something that we put for a visual aid for the board.
Okay.
And we have not received house plans of any sort, don't know what's happening with roof lines, anything like that, garage on one side. It was just merely like a observation tool.
Okay, sorry, I saw it, it was like, ooh, that's a pretty big,
Yeah,
I didn't know if your
I would
intention was to
think,
go to three-bedroom, and I'm like,
I would think that they would not want to do a house that big on this. I would really assume, so we'll see what ends up happening there.
Okay, anyone else? If not, we'll go on to the next item in the motion maker here.
Grant the waivers.
Well, we should probably close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Churchill, seconded by Malamud, to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. On the matter of waivers.
Shall read all three of them at one time?
Any objection to voting on all three at once? Hearing none, go ahead.
Hey, Mr. Chair, I move to grant a waiver from LDCR Section 170-24A, Parent 12, to not provide HIS mapping, as after a review of the waiver requested, the board finds that strict conformity to the regulations would pose an unnecessary hardship to the applicant, and the waiver would not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the regulations. Move to grant a rate waiver from LDCR Section 170-24A, Parent 18, to not provide a traffic impact statement, as after review of the waiver requested, the board finds that the specific circumstances relative to the plan or conditions of the land in such a plan indicate that the waiver will properly carry out the spirit and intent of the regulations. The next one, move to grant a waiver from LDCR Section 170-31, head utilities. As after review of the waiver request, the board finds that strict conformity to the regulations would pose an unnecessary hardship to the applicant, and the waiver would not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the regulations.
Second.
So moved.
Moved by O'Connor, seconded by Malamud, to grant free waivers. Poll board, Mr. Chase.
Yes.
Mr. Healy.
Yes.
Mr. Fishman.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Malvini.
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier. Mr. Churchill.
Yes.
Mr. Malaby.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. On findings of fact.
Mr. Chair, the board finds that the proposed plan does not alter existing conditions which would affect the access to the lots, ensuring the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood remains unchanged as a result of the consolidation and subdivision of the lots. The board finds that the proposed plan provides safe and efficient vehicle and pedestrian access, and that the roadway is adequate to accommodate the anticipated volume of traffic proposed by the development.
Second. Moved by O'Connor, seconded by Malaby. All those, I'll poll the board. Mr. Chase.
I'm going to say no, due to the fact that because of the changes by the legislature, that the neighbors' wells are not taken into account in the new septic system design. I do not feel that the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood is being protected.
Okay. Mr. Healy.
Yes.
Mr. Fishman.
I also feel no. I don't believe the welfare of the neighborhood is necessarily going to be unimpacted by this, despite potential mitigation impacts. And the concern of safety and access is still very open. So this is not going to make that easier. So no.
Yes.
And Mr. O'Connor votes yes. Mr. Malvini.
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier.
No.
Mr. Churchill.
Yes.
Mr. Malaby.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. I understand your concern about which is why I tried to identify which agency we needed to pillory. But,
Yeah.
we probably can't really change it.
I know.
So, as to the approval, let's make sure we get all of the conditions that we
I was going to go
talked
through
about in there.
I was going to go through this here in the last one.
Why don't you just preview the ones you've added, so we can make sure that they're all.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, you,
Yeah, you're the note taker, right?
I didn't take notes on that. I was gonna ask Randy to repeat it again.
I took notes. I have notes.
Look at this list.
Well, there was something about subsurface,
foundation and the
mitigation
setbacks.
Yeah, so
roof water
you-
and
yeah.
driveway water.
You asked that surface water management be
Okay.
Best
be
practices.
included, yeah. And that, what did I write? The new home shall have a trench infiltration or equivalent before occupancy. And the setbacks for the foundation shall be pinned at the corners, and the eaves cannot exceed the setback line.
I'll accept what she says.
Is
as
there
a friendly
anything else
amendment.
that we talked about?
And just the amendment that the well easements, if required, would be prepared,
Okay.
blah, blah, blah.
All right, let's go for it.
Okay, so I'll accept what, as a friendly amendment, and I'll continue with the existing.
Yep.
After review and deliberation of the lot consolidation and two-lot subdivision plan application for PID 19065, 19065-001, and 19065-002, Martin Auger, the board finds that the applicant has satisfied the general requirements of the land development control regulations, or in cases where the regulations cannot be met, has satisfied the waiver requirements. Therefore, the motion is to approve pursuant to RSA 676:4, Roman numeral 1, and completed application with the following conditions. Subject to the owner's signature, submit a 11 by 17 plan showing the new lots, addresses as assigned by the fire prevention, and the new parcel ID numbers are assigned by the assessing department. Subject to on-site inspection by the town engineer, establish escrow for the setting of the bounds or certify the bounds have been set. Note approved waivers on the plan. Correct notes 1 and 2 to reflect map 19 and not map 16. Obtain written approval from the planning director's designee that the GIS submission is received and is operable, and it complies with the LDCR, section 170-24C. A waiver of the municipality liability shall be recorded with the deeds for each of the lots, and a copy of the recorded document shall be provided to the planning and code enforcement officers. Well easements shall be prepared and recorded pursuant to RSA 485-A:30-B, parent numeral 1, parent C, and copies of the easements provided to the planning and code enforcement officers. Conditions precedent shall be met within 6 months, and submission of the appropriate recording fees payable to the Rockingham County Registry of Deeds. This includes the $25 L-chip fee and recording fees for the Mylar in the notice of decision and the accepted friendly amendments from the director.
You got those, Madam Secretary? Yes. Excellent.
Very good, thank you.
All right,
Second.
seconded by, so moved by O'Connor, seconded by Malaby. Any questions or discussion on that? That was fairly long. We'll pull the board. Mr. Chase.
Given the hand that we have been, I am forced to vote yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Malvini?
Yes.
Mr. Pelletier?
Yes.
Mr. Churchill?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, that
Thank
wasn't
you.
as simple as we thought it was going to be. But thank you
I
for
tried.
working with us.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. Have a good night, too. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan.
Okay, that takes us to the end of our agenda, except for board member comments. Does anyone want to use the last 15 minutes to make some comments?
Oh, Randy does.
You do?
Sure, I'd just like to welcome all the new board members and hope they learned something and serve the town well.
Yep. Thank you very much, all. I appreciate you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned.